What it do, niggas?
Morning.
Josh, is that a do-rag?
You talking to us?
Yeah, that would be me, brother. I accept that phrasing, but we can talk about it.
I was like, is that a do-rag? That's crazy.
It is. The braids are coming out today. Peace.
Did you put an agenda on a Google Doc? Oh my God, we're not letting Josh on the show no more.
We showed big.
He actually has to be stopped.
Wait, what Google Doc?
The one in the private chat. Y'all gotta start giving this nigga power. And then he came on with a do-rag and everything.
I'm here
He get more powerful every episode.
I'm just subbing in, guys. I'm just substitute teaching for Professor Jared. But it's a good time.
Have you ever substitute taught for real?
Yeah.
I had to. Kids are so much fun.
They are.
Every time about the kids be bad, I'd be like, I think y'all are just boring.
Amber, this is my teaching philosophy that you're distilling right now. 100%.
Really?
Yeah.
But really quick, you know who's not boring?
Who?
The undefeated chat and everybody who's watching. So
Peace.
Welcome to Remix Morning Show. Friday, here with Amber, Geechia, and Lorik. We're glad to have you here. We're gonna have a structured, fun, interesting.
We're really not. I gave Josh the opportunity to create an idea of structure to make him feel better, but don't you worry, guys.
For my brain.
For my brain. Listen, bro. Appreciate you.
But you're talking about your teaching, Amber. Substitute teaching. What is your favorite age range? I think we've all probably worked with youth before. I want to ask, what is y'all's favorite age range of youth to work with?
I like middle schoolers because they don't pee on themselves and they have a little bit of common sense. It's a little tinge of it. Still immature, but there's a little bit of common sense there, and they don't have accidents and need to be changed or randomly throw up. I don't know why. Kindergartners just throw up
all the time
or get you sick. Like when I was like subbing for like kindergartens and first graders, I like got super sick one time, like the worst sick I've ever been for like a week because of all the germs and shit. And I feel like middle schoolers are right before high school, so they aren't like feeling themselves too much, but they also don't get you sick.
That's a good age range. I started a little younger than that with teaching, but yeah, middle school.
Like you taught for real, like in the school?
Yeah.
Oh no, I was just a substitute. I refused to get a teaching license. I refused to be tethered to a school. I've liked it, like substituting. Honestly, my reasons for substituting are very ADHD. I like that I could probably wear the same shirt multiple times in a week because I was at different schools and no one would see me.
I was about to say, kids will roast you instantly if you wear the same shirt. So I
was just like, I only had so many. This was like fresh out of college, like 2016, 2017. I only had so many like business casual shirts. And so I would just rotate the same like 3 or 4 over 2 weeks. And I would wear the shirt like in between intermittent days. So I didn't have to like think of something to wear. I hate like having to think of an outfit. Like it just gave me so much anxiety.
Yeah. Geechee, you shake your head on youth and the age range. So is it no youth for you?
I have a struggle with the framework of favorites. Like when people ask me what's your favorite this and favorite that, like there's very few things that I have favorites of. And so I don't have a favorite age.
Same, actually, Geechee. I hate people asking what's my favorite something.
Yeah. I do appreciate at all ages. And I think the methods and the ways in which you engage is different. I do maybe like for my own personal stuff, I do like shooting the shit with like really young babies that can talk and just like go wherever the conversation they take you and like really be engaged. Because I just like to see that experience of like they know that most people just don't pay them attention and they kind of shut down. And for you to entertain their conversation, even though it's like most people can't understand it, I just like to see that. So I wouldn't say that's my favorite group, but I do.
And is that because you're childish or
Or that's I'm a human and I'm humanizing them as well. And I don't do too much ageism. That
Oh, that's
I like talking to younger people who I can understand. When I can't understand what they're saying, then I'm like, all right, this is frustrating me. But if I can understand most of what they're saying, then I'll just let them talk.
yeah. I hear the ageism discussion. That's important. Now you have me rearranging. So I do have a favorite, but that's just in terms of who I tend to
but
get.
what is ageism really?
That's exactly. Hey, I'm glad you asked that question. That's exactly what I was about to ask. Because to me, it's form of discrimination against usually youth, but it applies to elders as well, about what they're capable of and how they are uniquely incapable of certain forms of decision making we call adults capable of. And so I really think it relies on this distinguishing between childhood, however you construct that, and adulthood. But what I've noticed is that that's not a real line. Like there are some children who are more mature emotionally, know how to handle negative experiences better at 10 than there are at like 25. And this idea, I think, that we have a straight line of progression from childhood to maturity needs to be challenged. So I really appreciate, Geechee, what you said working with the babies, because you can see their thought processes. You can see confidence in kids that honestly gets like beaten out of them as they get older. And so, yeah, I think ageism is trying to unpack all of that and to empower kids as just other humans in our society and not as like an oppressed class. I think under patriarchy, they're property pretty much. Like legally, kids are property. I see kids get treated like property, So that's my first take. But I like the high schoolers. At the end of the day, those are mine. They tend to be the ones that people have the most issues with because they have attitudes. But to me, a lot of that attitude is just challenging authority.
Yeah, and I like to challenge authority too. So imagine I'm the teacher and I'm challenging authority with you. Ain't none of us in charge.
Well, this is the problem. This was me coming into teaching because I started teaching at 19, like officially. So I was a teenager. So even I wouldn't let people call me Mr. Ingram or any of that shit. Like it was a big philosophical difference between me and like my supervisor, who was like a 30+ year educator at the time. And so she was like, no, they have to respect you. They have to da 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 da. But I'm like,
but how were you able to teach at 19? Like you didn't have to.
I was in a freedom school. That was where I started before I got into the classroom. So in freedom schools, we were doing still literacy, children's defense fund, stuff like that. But my supervisor, the one who was over the program, was an educator in public schools for like 30+ years. So she had a more traditional understanding of education, one I respected and grew up under. But I'm like, these jits are like, I'm as old as their big brother. You know what I mean? Like they could look at me and have brothers older than me. Like this Mr. Strict Authority thing ain't gonna work. So we had a relationship that was just calling each other by our first name. But by the end of it, my supervisor, she was like, oh, I see you have your own style. I respect that. Like, so it was cool. It was dope.
I'm glad she respects your style. I just want y'all to know when you're talking about the property thing, Brother Jamil said, I'm glad I came up at the property of my mom and dad.
If that's your world, we gonna talk about it though. That's a patriarchal worldview, in my opinion.
I actually didn't even think about that until one of my like little mentees, he was in foster care for a long time, like into adulthood. And he was like explaining like random foster care stuff to me. Cause I mean, realistically, I never knew how much the government supported or didn't support foster youth until I was filling out the FAFSA. And they ask you all those questions, like about you being in foster, you've been in foster care, how your guardians or parents died or whatever, to like tell you what support level you get, even though it's actually still not a lot. But I didn't even think about all of that. So then I like went down a rabbit hole and I was like, oh, like you're like a ward of the state and you just belong to the government. And if you're in Tennessee and you're in DHS custody, they got you sleeping in closets because they ain't got nowhere to put you. So that's a little nasty and trifling. But you know.
Yeah.
And just so people on the stream know, I was slightly late this morning because I've been doing dance cardio, and it's not my fault that the show is an hour ahead of where I live, and it throws off my Friday schedule.
Hey, you signed up for this. I mean,
I'm doing the best I can.
you know,
In my defense, did I sign up for it or was I forced?
Definitely, we don't force people to host Black Liberation Media, so this was a consensual.
Not you trying to beat the slavery allegations.
Every time, sweatshop allegations at least.
Sweatshop. Did I tell you? Oh no, I didn't tell you about this, Lori. I told Geechee when I was in Africa and they had this sweatshop where they was making the clothes, and I ain't know at first. I'm thinking, the lady, the auntie came out, she measuring us and stuff. We picking out fabrics. It's cool. When we came back to pick the stuff up, she was like, "Yeah, let's go to the back here because I want to check something like on the scene that she was fixing for me." It's 50 tables of what are those things called?
Like the sewing
machines. 50 tables of sewing machines. People back there. I said, "This is a sweatshop."
Wait, did you ask her? Are they being paid? Because it could be a cooperative, but the sweatshop is contingent upon how much they're not being or are being paid.
I ain't even want to get into it because I hadn't got my clothes yet.
You didn't want to know. You didn't want to feel the guilt before you made the purchase.
I didn't want to ask no questions. I needed my clothes, bro.
Oh man!
But I did ask. I was like, "Oh, so like, are y'all all family?" She was like, "Yeah, it's mostly family. They work here."
Yeah, all right. We all a family at this sweatshop.
It was very much of a sweatshop.
Where were you at in Ghana?
In Accra.
Okay, well, never mind.
Yeah, wow. I was thinking too. I was like, where is this? I mean, was it the new sweatshops? Have y'all heard of ghost kitchens?
Yes.
Oh my God. Ghost kitchens are some black shit. Y'all, Amber, break down what ghost kitchens are to the people, please.
So basically, people can sublease their kitchen to someone to open a business. And when you on DoorDash, I'm like, oh, this is a new business. I'm gonna try it out. These motherfuckers in a Chili's.
Yup.
Bro, I pulled up to a Chili's one time. I said, I'm so confused. The Chili's leasing it out to the Mr. Beast company who making the burgers and stuff. And then like the other little side companies. I said, is this what we doing? Is capitalism doing this to y'all for like the recession is real? That you are leasing your kitchen out to two other businesses. It's insane.
Yeah. I mean, in Miami, it wasn't so some of those that it works like that sometimes, and other times like they count on you doing delivery and not pickup. So I pull up to a spot with my boy one time, and it's a line out the door, nothing but delivery drivers, and it's just this nondescript fucking black box of a building, essentially. And inside of it, it's like all you go on Uber, and it looks like there's all of these. You think it's a food hall? It's like it's a taco truck, it's a new pizza spot, all these brands you've never heard of. This black box building, people working in the back making the food, and then nothing but delivery drivers in and out. And it's like all through downtown, all through the Wynwood, Miami area, people ordering this food. Crazy.
And it's either like they can be in a indescript building like that, or like a Chili's,
or a house.
Yeah.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah,
but I can tell when it's somebody's house. Like one of them just said like Didi's kitchen. I said, no, ma'am. No, ma'am, Didi. You're not going to get me. That was a countertop in the back of that picture.
Yeah.
You're not going to get me. And they don't be making like realistically healthy stuff. Like I really try not to eat like horribly and like Didi's kitchen. I said, no one should be eating this. You're going to have a heart attack. You're going to get high cholesterol. I didn't even know what high cholesterol was until like a year ago, by the way.
Maybe you can ask somebody if you can use their crystals, one of their crystals, the fast food chain restaurant, to make your ghost kitchen.
I would never have a ghost kitchen. I also hope y'all are not eating crystals.
Well. If you want to support my homeboy, he has a franchise with crystals that we're gonna get into later, and it's providing jobs. So you definitely.
I'm so sick of you.
You gotta support
for the chat.
Like, what is he talking about? Right?
Yeah. For the chat that's confused, I just want y'all to know that they forced me to watch this Charlemagne the God interview thing with these weirdo capitalist people.
Hey,
The dumbass
Amber, could you be more of a responsible journalist and stop using the word force? Because we are being, as we was talking about earlier, we're being consumed and not engaged. So people might just really believe you. Yeah.
I was outvoted.
Uh-huh.
And because we live in a
wait a minute.
We live in a democracy. It was 2 against 1.
Well, since Amber want to do corporate owned journalism and NARD type journalism, I'm going to do emancipatory journalism and say, based off of our conversation on and off the camera last week, and Killer Mike's damage control after FD's video, that conversation sounded exactly like the conversation we was having last week and on and off the camera. So I shared it because I just happened to see it, and that's why.
I'm just joking, you guys. I figured they knew I was
clean you
up.
No, they don't.
Said he finna clear his name. I'm really not serious.
I ain't do it.
Completely unserious. I just did Harry Styles dance cardio this morning. Please note I'm never serious.
What tracks? Does Harry Styles have tracks we could dance to like that?
Yes, the music for a sushi restaurant. That John was hitting. And then the little satellite song. It's like a dance cardio video. Like the girl does like 5
I gotta check it out. Apologies to Harry Styles.
It's actually hitting. I actually having a time of my life doing that jump. But I think that's a key clue that I'm not serious.
Black Wookiees predicting the future. So we'll get a little bit into Killer Mike.
So Lark, if you pull a comment up though, you have to read it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I pulled that up just to acknowledge them on their own, but I wasn't publicly acknowledging. But yes.
But thank you for that accessibility practice, Amber. We struggle with it sometimes, but we do have to read what we see on the screen. So I'm gonna do that.
It's okay. No biggie. Anytime. But how are you guys doing?
I'm good this week. Fantastic. Taking the energy from Black August and making it Black August 365. Did need a little bit of a break. After that, just a day to rest. So took that, and now I'm back on it. But
I was so tired of talking to people after that Black August class ended.
Yeah, but a lot of programming in September as well. So I was just like, I need at least one day. So I used
what kind of programming y'all doing?
Mass cause, local work. We're doing a specific PE track for our leadership at the moment, which I'm really proud of. So we just got to get ready.
Y'all doing have you done any of the bold trainings?
Some of us have. It hasn't been a organization-wide thing, but if you look on our YouTube channel that I'm gonna always plug, we had a grounding session at the beginning of Black August with Bold, which is really cool. I listened to some audio of Mumia. He has like meditation tapes, which is really, really dope. So it started off with that. I think you can find them on YouTube where he just announces how he finds peace in the madness. So I really appreciated it. What about y'all? What you been up to?
Oh, Amber. Just some simple stuff here in Atlanta, working through internal and external things as they come up, and we're doing our best to make sure that we have some protection for some tenants here. I think I talked about it a couple of times, and then also there's probably some escalating things going on with one of the decision-making bodies in our community that we're in a struggle with. So just trying to prepare for all those things.
Amber, what
you
about
made that sound so vague, but I know it's really juicy.
Oh, okay.
There's some tension with some decision-making bodies. What decisions do they get to make, Geechee? Tell me about it later. I feel like it's a lot of tea there.
Well, no, I mean, I think it's still connected to I asked you a question about that one sister who is from Memphis, and they were brought in by a community organization and now claim to be the backbone of the decision-making body of the neighborhood. And again, if you ever heard of Lenin's legal and illegal strategy, which means status quo and non-status quo strategy, part of our interaction in the legal strategy is to help this decision-making body live to its potential ideals or replace it with something else. And so that process is getting thick.
Y'all should ask her if she want to jack about it. That's how you really know she's from Memphis.
I don't think she's from Memphis. I think she might be from Nashville and just moved to Memphis and now in Atlanta. So,
People
but like, and I don't want to say she the center because the reality in this predicament, she is just cannon fodder for a larger objective. So
cannon fodder is crazy.
I mean, that's kind of what happens.
Yeah, I think if y'all ask her if she want to jack about it, then depending on how she responds, you'll know she actually from Memphis or not.
You want to jack about it?
I don't. I tase people. I don't fight.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Jack is fight for y'all.
Yeah, she's from Memphis.
Got you.
Yeah.
Or you just
I don't fight people. You know, I have a very nice face. My afro is filled out all the way around. Nobody will be pulling my hair out, scratching my face, or injuring my body. I will for sure tase you, mace you, maybe shoot you, depending on if I'm near a gun. But I will not fight. I don't have time for that.
We grown. I hear that.
Sorry, Goddess Crew said, what in the world is happening? We're just discussing.
I think Goddess Crew said that twice, so I don't know.
Oh, we're just discussing, you know, what gets you to the point where you will fight someone? Nothing will get me to that point. I'm actually way too conceited. Only person I've ever played fight even was my sister. Like, I haven't never been in a real fight. I really am very much afraid of messing any of my facial features up. And then I'll be like that girl that suing Cardi B who had to get plastic surgery.
that whole trial.
I haven't watched the clips or whatever. People were like talking about it. I haven't been watching the trial. I've seen like one clip and I've seen the videos that Cardi B has posted, and they're just so funny. That fool went to court with a pillow under her outfit. And I said, Cardi B is the true dramatic. She is a true like actor, a true character. All she do is play.
Yeah, but she's an entertainer from the beginning, like, right? Wasn't her before this rap? Wasn't her claim to fame like reality TV?
Yeah, she was hilarious on there. I used a clip from her actually when she was like, "She won't have beef," like on a video that I made, like a reel, because it's so funny. But I also will be beefing with that person forever that I was talking about in the video. But she definitely is like very memeable, funny, and I actually appreciate that. Like, what I feel like we don't get from like some of these new artists is that she actually has a lot of nuance and realism in the things she talks about. Like, she talks like a regular New Yorker. Like when she was on reality TV, she talked like a regular New Yorker who's like experiencing a high rent and all these bills and taking care of her family. Like, she talked about regular stuff. And I think that we don't get to see that from artists now as much. Like, it's all like glitz and glam. Look at this Rolls Royce I just bought. When realistically, who will be buying a Rolls Royce?
So I was gonna push back. Cardi be playing both sides on that one. As much as I appreciate her, I still remember the Cardi B Birkin bag wall in her closet where it's just $50,000 Birkin bags.
Oh, I'm not talking about since she been rich. I'm talking about when she was on reality
TV. We talking about
this is a while ago. So I only watched Cardi B when she was on Love and Hip Hop, and then when she and some other people left, I had to stop watching. So that was like, this is maybe like 8 or 9 years ago. This is a while ago when I used to watch Love and Hip Hop. After that, I stopped watching it, but I liked that she was just a regular person on there. Yeah. I'm not talking about now. No, that bitch rich. She like a fashion icon. Like, she really doing the most. A lot of materialism. A lot of
yeah, and that was why I was feeling a little conflicted on it. Like, again, rooting for, Black rich people isn't my thing. I did feel like she felt more like a, community member dealing with some bullshit while she was pregnant, all of that. But I mean, I was a little confused as to how she got, not confused, sorry. I'm confused about what you're laughing at. I'm excited.
I'm laughing at, hold on. Cardi said she looks like she could protect the building.
About the security guard. Yeah. So
first of all, why would she say that? But also,
it's Cardi's context. We're doing the Cardi B story, y'all. So for context, Cardi B's being sued by security. She was trying to get into practice for a checkup about her baby when she was pregnant.
Her first baby, and she didn't want people to know at first. She was trying to like go through the motions.
Right.
And I think a mixture of that was because of like previous experience she had. Like I think she has had a miscarriage before, and she was super, super famous. So she like was trying to just do it very private or whatever. And the girl said that she saw her and said, "Oh, that's Cardi B," and Cardi B thought she was recording, and then Cardi B attacked her, is what she's alleging. But there's like no proof of this said attack, and she's just she in court being hilarious.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it's been. I think this person who was security was violating her privacy, got hit, Cardi was trying to move the camera away and is trying to get a payday, which again, I'm not for that kind of behavior either. That's that kind of parasitism that capitalism breeds. But I am also
like parasite.
Vampirism, whatever.
Y'all like black men, Bill people be using big words.
We try to, It's Malcolm taught us break down those roots. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not for that. But I also was like, I mean, this is just one of them Birkin bags you got on the wall here. Like you could have taken that down and thrown it at her.
Could have paid her. Right. I honestly think it's the principle, because Cardi is very much it's the principle. And I will say, when she has actually done something, she fessed up to it. Like she was like, "I'm doing community service because I committed a crime. Don't commit crimes, kids." Like she's made videos saying that. So I feel like if she really did assault that lady, she wouldn't be fighting like this. I don't think she really assaulted the lady, but I mean, we gonna see. But for the check-in thing, I'm doing fine. I'm just, living life. I've been doing these, I've been trying to like regulate my ADHD by working out more, which I used to do. Like I still work out like multiple times a week, but I wasn't doing it every single day. So I've been doing it every single day for like a few weeks now. And it is working. My goal is to like work out early in the morning to regulate my system enough until my ADHD medicine kicks in, so that realistically I'm done with all the things I have to do by like 3 or 4 every day. So then I can just kind of chill the rest of the day and then go to sleep by 9. And I've been doing that for almost like a week and a half, 2 weeks-ish now. And it's going okay. I think I'm more so like annoyed by the things that get in my way in my schedule of like, I think I'm free and available in the morning, and then someone will call me because my job is in a different time zone, and it'll be like 8 a.m. and I'm just like getting done with all the stuff I'm doing, and they'll call me and I'll be like, "Why are you calling me at 8 a.m.?" But other than that, it's going well. And I like dance cardio. So today I did the Harry Styles joint, and I did this Megan Thee Stallion Captain Hook dance cardio. It's one of my favorites.
That crazy. That's
yeah, it's just like a lot of like calisthenics, and you do it in like 2 sets. So the girl just does like 2 sets of them, but it's very hype. Like because Captain Hook is such a hype song, I don't realize I'm working out so hard at first. So it's just really fun. I have to do stuff that's fun though. And then yesterday I did a mile. I like walked and ran a mile in like 30 minutes, which is like a really good number for me because I usually hit it like 40 or 45. So doing pretty good on that too. But other than that, I ain't been doing nothing. I really been inside. It's gonna get cold outside. So this one I really be locking in on like the workouts and like extra hobbies.
It's a good time. Fitness is important, man.
Yeah. And my little sister's birthday was yesterday. So I spent a lot of time talking to her yesterday. My twin sister and I. Let me clear this up.
Amber's a twin? First off, happy belated. Second, dude, did I know this? You're a twin?
You didn't know that. Identical? No, we're fraternal twins. Where's she at? She's somewhere on this wall. Oh. There she go.
Hey!
She looked just like me. She just likes me.
Just like you. Yeah.
And she looked younger.
I was about to say just a little light skin.
What? She look younger.
Go back. Get that picture. She just looked younger.
What you mean she look younger?
You look younger, actually.
In that picture.
You a hater.
No, I'm just saying. Oh well, maybe you. I didn't even look at you. I didn't.
A little younger. You're
my bad. You know what? I didn't even look at you in the picture, and I was just thinking about her, and you now. But
wow.
So that was that picture was older.
She looks different now. Yeah, this picture was from about, I would say like 2018 or 2019 maybe. There's a picture of us up here. I think it fell, but on this little picture wall. But yeah, she She has longer locks now. Like her hair was pulled back, so you can't really see it in there. But her locks are about like right here now. But she also trimmed the sides, so it looks interesting. Like when she puts it up, it looks good. When she puts it down, it also looks cool. But my little sister, so our little sister, because my daddy was a hoe, and he had me and my twin sister, and then a year later my brother, and then a few years after that my little sister, because he couldn't be with my mama. And let me just tell y'all something. It's a quick lesson to be learned. If you can't be with the person you want, you don't go marrying somebody else, because it's not going to work out. And that's why he's on his third marriage. Anyways, so my little sister, it was her birthday yesterday, and all of us are in our group chat because we're going to go see her because she lives in London. She's lived in the UK for like 7-8 years. She's never moved back. So we finally accepted that she's not moving back. So we're gonna go visit her. And so we were talking about the trip because she's trying to add all this extra stuff. I said, girl, I'm not catching no Euro train. I'm not doing nothing. I'm taking a plane. I'm taking a plane, and you should be in the place where I'm catching the plane too. So that was a whole thing, our little conversation. But yeah, it was cool. I'm glad she had a good birthday. She is, very much like me. So she having a good time. And she loves living in London. Somebody said, "Oh, posh." That's funny, Yipper. She's a speech therapist, which I think is like a good profession there. So she living it up. Like,
what profession in England?
But she used to work in a hospital. She's making really good money, and then she like got into a private practice or something. I don't know, but she went to the UK to get her master's originally for speech therapy and become a speech therapist. So whatever like licensure she has to get in the UK, because she went to like the top school in the UK for speech therapy, and then after that she just stayed there. So she's been having a good time. Brittany said, "Are y'all close? Are you talking about my twin sister or my little sister?" I know if you're talking about my twin sister, yes, we're very close. I will say that the whole I know people talk about the whole twin telepathy thing. I don't think it's as much as a telepathy as it is like you can kind of feel when something's going on. I can usually feel when something's going on with her, or she can feel something going on with me, but I can't like read her mind. I can't be like, oh, this is the exact thing going on. It's not like that kind of telepathy. It's more like you're closely tied to someone, so you kind of know when something's going on with them. But yeah, we're definitely close in general. I think we're closer now that she doesn't live here, because she hasn't lived here for a while either. Stono said, "Does your little sister speak with a UK accent?" No, my little sister sounds like me. And my little sister is the most like me, and my twin sister is the most like our brother. And that's not because they're both gay. I think it's because they both are like the wild spirits in the family. And then my little sister and I are very like structured, went to college, got a master's degree, doing our, job thing. We both travel a lot too. So it's really interesting how it's kind of split up, but no. And this is my sister's first time going out of the country, my twin sister. And we're forcing her to go because our brother dropped out the trip. And when you plan group trips with your family and y'all been planning it for a while, and we create a little schedule. We got the payment stuff set up. We making sure everybody can do what they need to do to get there. And then somebody just drop out. It's so annoying. We've been planning this trip for like 2 years, and he be just so wishy-washy. I hate it.
Family trips, my favorite.
Family trips are crazy. We're going to see my twin sister in Denver, because she lives in Denver. We're going to see her there for Thanksgiving this year, and I'm really excited. But my sister said that there's no hiking you can do there in November, and I just don't believe her.
Trying to figure out my family trips.
Ichi, you been to Denver before? I feel like you've been.
Been to who?
I feel like you've been to Denver before.
Denver, Colorado?
Yeah.
Nah. I've never been to Denver.
Really? I just feel like that's somewhere you would have visited.
Why?
He's just been a traveler. I think that's why.
Because you travel a
lot. I travel outside the country, and I travel up and down the East Coast, but I don't really. I've been to LA. I've been to Texas. Never been to Denver.
We got to go through our travel journeys next time, because I know Geechi's been around the world trying to figure that out. But I think it's time we slap the map.
Oh no, I thought you were doing the announcement first.
Oh, I was gonna say after we slap the map, if you can.
Oh, okay. What was that?
Slap the map. We're gonna smack it.
I don't think it worked, bro. Okay, the breaking news was this part. Hold on.
You gotta pull it off.
I know I am. I got this.
My bad. I'm just trying to help.
I was trying to do the breaking news first so they could see what the breaking news was. But anyways, Josh, you want to say something?
Sure. We just have an announcement. We've been talking about Mumia, how he needs eye surgery ASAP, and how we're calling and demanding that he gets the treatment he deserves. So just an update on that, and then moving us forward, because we still have to keep calling. So Mumia Abu-Jamal has had successful cataract surgery. He is seeing clearly from the left eye, thankfully. However, issues with the right eye still need to be addressed. Treatment and follow-up with the retinal specialist is needed. Keep calling. We have the script here. If you don't follow Bring Mumia Home, you can also go on Mumia's website. And we want to just keep pushing this forward. Glad he can see out of his left eye. Glad there's been some progress. But, keep calling. If they hang up on you, if they tell you they're not going to pass along, doesn't matter. We got to keep doing this until Mumia gets what he needs.
Yeah, man. We have this event coming up with Noel Hanahan and Jennifer Black, who co-edited this book with Mumia, and we were talking. It's going to be at Morehouse, and we was talking about having Mumia engage at some point, like whether it be send a video or talk about the times. And there was a comment made. I think Noel. I don't know who said it, but they were like, well, because of the eye situation, like he can't really read, and but he could, if you tell him about the current events, like he's so locked in and he has so much information in there that he literally could still say something relevant and important. And it just made me think about literally like losing your senses, not only being tortured in a barbaric prison, but also like just the will to no matter what still do and fight for the people and have a particular spirit that, like, again, I can't imagine, and I think most people can't imagine like the things that he's going through, the conditions, and never once, from my understanding of my short years, have I heard him not being still accessible and useful for the people. So I think that's beautiful.
I think it also, like, one of the main things that I've kind of noticed from like being on the website or listening to him talk is how much like people, well, the government and systems really want to lock away like the smartest, the smart intellectual, like Black folks who they know, will get us free realistically. And I think about it a lot this week because somebody in our group chat for our like Memphis like young folk group chat or whatever shared this clip of the interview of that guy, what's his name, William something, who like was an informant for the FBI.
William O'Neill.
Yeah, for the Black Panther Party, and it was like him talking about what he was doing, and Brandon, who's like this guy in our group chat, he was like, I just think it's so crazy that like they thought they were gonna catch them like doing something and they were just reading books. And I was like, Brandon, they never thought they were gonna catch them doing anything criminal. The criminal thing they were doing was reading the books, friend. The Karl Marx was the crime. Yeah. And he was like in shock. He was like, wow. I was like, yeah, I think I don't realize how much, like, if Black folks are reading things that are considered like communist theory or like political education, like that's a crime. And now he's like going down this whole rabbit hole. He's gonna read Revolutionary Suicide. Lord, I sent him a copy of that, and it's just so interesting because I think that like the average folks now who are not like super into movement and organizing, but they do believe like in some like more radical things and they are interested in learning more, are still always like, dang, that's really a crime for Black people. Like I was like, yes, it is.
Yeah. I have the penal codes. I wrote a piece about the book bans in Florida. So a lot of people aren't familiar with the codes they use in jail, like 3G, 3M, or whatever, but they are explicit bans on material. Malcolm X Speaks is banned, for example. A lot of those books, but they have an expansive category, so they can call it like there's basically a miscellaneous option, which just means whatever the hell we want, we could throw it in here. So things like learning how to code or learning Japanese or anything in another language is considered something insurrectionary, because now you're learning a code that only you can use to communicate and the guards can't. So there's a way to limit your ability to learn computer coding, other languages, all these things that are supposed to be, you know, things you can do as you're trying to rehabilitate and all of those.
Yeah. Or anything that will like actually cause advancement, right? Like if I learn how to code and like computer science stuff, when I get out of here, I probably can get an okay job, like doing coding stuff. But yeah, they don't want them to have that. I do want to just bring this up. Tono said that they sent their comrade some political theory books in prison and he never received them. That's not shocking.
Can you
I didn't realize how expensive the list was. Huh?
But can you highlight that next comment too? Because I think it's really cool what you did choose to send. Send him the FRSO program and Dwayne Wong, Brother Omawale's book on Walter Rodney, which we covered earlier this year. So it's really cool. Hope we can figure out a way to get that information to him.
So okay, here's my question, Sono. Do they send you the books back or they just keep them?
That's an interesting question. Yeah, we'll definitely look out for that. One thing I wanted to add about Mumia, as you're pointing out, is that his scholarship is something that's actually built for the community. So he's written books, Murder Incorporated, which I've been able to look through, but he also has essays on Malcolm X. He is pursuing his PhD currently. He did give an opening address for National Black Radical Organizing Conference this year. So this is because he is still doing amazing work. I think he has a show with Mark Lamont Hill, The Classroom in the Cell, all sorts of things. So he is actively being targeted because he's still contributing to our movement, even behind the walls. And that should be an inspiration.
How do you feel about Mark Lamont Hill, though, since we're bringing him up, Lorik?
Mark Lamont Hill is a journalist. He has been on the platform a few times. I think that he is a useful personality at times, but I think his praxis deviates from some of the grassroots radical organizers that we look up to.
Yeah, I think he does say the right things and he has good ideology. I do question the whole Joe Budden podcast thing. I think that it's not worth it. I think it's more like depressing than it is like actually informing people, because he's like the only person that thinks that way.
That was an example I was thinking of as well. But I think that's Mark's trajectory, is going into right-wing spaces and platforming himself, but also platforming left-wing ideas. But in, you know, our media analysis on BLM, we understand at the end of the day, you're still platforming the right more than you are, and yourself as an individual kind of figure, celebrity, than you are the work. And then you are the ideas. Those ideas aren't taken seriously in those spaces, and they end up serving the right-wing hosts, which we're going to get into a little bit.
Wait, would you say that Joe Budden podcast is a right-wing podcast?
I would love to get into that right now. I
just wanted a yes or no answer. I don't listen to the podcast.
Yes, it is, but I want to get, and so we're on this next part of the run sheet right here. Amber, can you, for the audience, read the definition of right-wing? The definition of right-wing. I'll try and drop it in the chat if there's some space.
No, I can see it. The range of political ideologies that view certain social orders and hierarchies as inevitable, natural, normal, or desirable. This is opposed to left-wing politics, which aim to dismantle hierarchies and establish egalitarian social orders.
Okay. So anything that views hierarchies and social orders as inevitable, natural, normal, or desirable. That's one thing. Geechee, can you read that
maybe on the desirable for them
definition real quick for folks?
According to our run sheet, conservatism, a right-wing cultural, social, and political approach which seeks to promote and preserve traditional institutions, customs, and values. This manifests as a general preference for the existing order of society and an opposition to all efforts to bring about rapid or fundamental change in that order. Conservative ideologies characteristically strive to show that existing economic and political inequalities are well justified, we're gonna get there, and that the existing order is about as close as it's practically attainable to an ideal order, and often base their claims on the teachings of religion and traditional morality while rejecting social theories. We're going to get to that. Proposed by secular and or radical scholars, organized of philosophers, economists, and other social thinkers. Yeah, we're going to get to all of that. I think that pretty much explains the whole Killer Mike and Charlemagne interview. And Amber, you're probably going to hear something familiar that Charlemagne said that you said one day.
Now, here's my question. So if we know that they want to preserve the social order, they think that hierarchies are natural, that this world is as close to what we can practically, that term, practically attain, then my question is, so are liberals or Democrats, people who are pro-police, pro-corporation, pro-military, right-wing, what we call liberals or Democrats, right-wing, based on this definition? Amber, what do you think?
Wait, liberals and Democrats, people consider liberals and Democrats the same thing?
Sometimes they can be different, but for the sake of simplicity, I'm calling them the same.
What's confusing me? I don't
Okay.
like it.
Obama would be a liberal.
Really? I would think he'll be a Democrat.
He is. So they can
Very,
be both.
very pro-police. What's liberal about him?
So this is the question, right? So everyone in the chat, I see yes, 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 yes. According to this definition, liberals or Democrats, for the sake of simplicity, they're not all the same, but it's important, are people who are pro-police, pro-corporation, pro-military. All of these are hierarchical structures of domination, and that would make them right-wing. So when we look historically at like the Black Liberation Army, for example, they categorize liberals and Democrats as right-wing, Amber, but to other examples, folks in SNCC, if you go and look at their political education stuff, they also talk about like right-wingers as liberals. So there's a Kwame Ture essay called The Pitfalls of Liberalism, where he just talks about that. So Amber, you talked about a lot of liberals, like in the Memphis context. These are people who will say that they're, trying to do police reform, but then what did the Democrats say? We want better police. We want better trained police. We're going to put more resources into body cams. So these are things that reform the system, but ultimately are still maintaining it, right? Does that make sense?
I would argue, that the people I was talking about, like around the more money for policing stuff, are like the Democrats and the like people who I would say consider themselves progressive, even though they don't have any progressive policies. When I'm thinking about the liberals, I would not say, I don't feel like the ones who are liberal here, they aren't pro-police or pro-military and stuff like that. That's usually the Democrats. Like we have a very like establishment, like old school party of people.
So really quickly, liberals also are contained in the fact where they would express that they want the government or society to make injustice less unjust, right? Or so they.
Wait, what? Repeat that again.
They are the people who would talk about injustice and they would make it less. So they ameliorate injustice, not resolve or solve, right? So
what does ameliorating mean? Geechee, please.
They will make it less painful, right? They like amendments, small amendments, but they won't have a deep social change or system change. So for instance, you will see how Charlemagne will talk rhetoric, but then he would be like, well, socialism, I don't like that word. And then it's another conversation. So
Amber, can you pull up what I just dropped? Just for 2 paragraphs, that'll get us some clarity here. It's just from ancestor Kwame Ture. But
I had a comment, but I pulled it up.
Sorry, the 4th and 5th paragraph will get us exactly where we're trying to go. But then go ahead with your comment. I'm sorry.
I forgot it now, so it's fine.
Cool.
So this is the pitfalls of liberalism. 1, 2, 3, 4. You said 4 and 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Can we put it on the screen?
I am. Damn.
Oh, I don't know.
Y'all so demanding.
And then
I mean, you said you want to run the board, don't you? Run the board, damn.
This how y'all be treating women?
Oh, we doing that?
Just like Charlemagne. They said Allah said respect women, but I don't want to be a player. Okay, I'm done. Many people want to know why, out of the entire white segment of society, we want to criticize the liberals. We have to criticize them because they represent the liaison between both groups between the oppressed and the oppressor. The liberal tries to become an arbitrator, but he is incapable of solving the problems. He promises the oppressor that he can keep the oppressed under control, that he will stop them from becoming illegal. In this case, illegal means violent. At the same time, he promises the oppressed that he will be able to alleviate their suffering in due time. And historically, of course, we know this is impossible and our era will not escape history. The most perturbing question for the liberal is the question of violence. The liberal's initial reaction to violence is to try to convince the oppressed that violence is an incorrect tactic and that violence will not work, that violence never accomplishes anything. And the Europeans took America through violence, and through violence, they established the most powerful country in the world. Through violence, they maintain the most powerful country in the world. And it's absolutely absurd for one to say that violence never accomplishes anything. I, for one, agree, but y'all said I couldn't say that on the live stream, so I didn't want to say nothing.
Okay. But so you see how some Democrats and even some Republicans can be categorized as liberal, but typically talking out of both sides of your neck, we acknowledge just one thing, but then fund the other thing tends to be how Democrats operate, which is why for shorthand, people usually think of conservatives as Republicans, Democrats as liberals, right? So that's kind of.
Someone said, "Where's this excerpt from?" It's from The Pitfalls of Liberalism by Kwame Ture.
Excellent.
I'll put the link in the chat. But I guess this is also why I don't like. This goes back to like my pushback against like terms and stuff, because I would argue that that's not all just liberals. Like I would say progressives act like that. I would say some of the what's some people called, child?
So these things can merge. So like you don't have to push back on terms because the terms make distinctions between the merging of it. So
do they make distinctions if they're all doing similar stuff?
Yes. Yes. So people who are defending themselves kill people, right? Just as well as the military kill people. Are they the same thing?
No, but I guess my like normal pushback is like, why do we just have all of these terms? Why can't we just use one thing?
So I was exactly about to answer that, Amber. So my question would be, I agree with you potentially, but then the question becomes, where do these terms come from? Because you didn't just come out of the womb saying progressive, right? So progressive has a specific historical, economic, political, cultural origin, right? So I'm always trying to find where did that come from? So when you ask, are progressive liberals, this was an early question I asked when I looked at labor history, studied the rise of the progressive movement under Roosevelt and things like that. I actually found that progressives existed as a way to co-opt socialist and communist organizing at the time. So from my understanding, the history of progressive in the US are a specific radical type of liberal that exists to deal with capitalism and trying to reform it. So when the country's tipping too far toward the socialist communist side, we have the IWW, you got radical black organizations, all of these things. The progressive isn't the liberal. They aren't going to say the usual law and order things. They might sound a little more radical, but at the end of the day, they're talking about, well, we're going to have an LRB, a labor relations board, to balance what union workers and bosses want. And so the progressive, that seems like it's an improvement, right? The real alternative is we don't need the bosses. We're trying to be socialist, own the means of production, that kind of thing. So progressivism is a specific form of liberalism that comes in to like co-opt and manage if we tip to the other side. But not all liberals do that, right? So there are going to be plenty of liberals who don't even care about setting up an NLRB, that kind of thing. So there are different types of liberals. And
you're talking about National Labor Relations Board?
Thank you. That one.
Yeah, just say it for the people. They don't know.
Gotcha. National. So that's the thing. It's different species of liberals. There are even these different species of conservatives. And so all we're doing is like, just like if you were to talk about a poodle, it's still a dog, right? But someone wants to know how to identify a poodle versus a Rottweiler for important reasons, right?
Yeah. But I think that those are actually easy to identify because they're actually very different dogs.
Well, I think once you have these labels, these are easy to identify. To me, like once I understood this,
I feel like this is how I feel about like denominations of like Christianity. Like I feel like there's all these multiple denominations who do a few different things, but they're all pretty much doing the same thing and talking about the same stuff. And I just think that we should just be using one word to make
I think
there wars over those differences, Amber.
Yeah, because I think denominations the denominations are different because again they're more so I guess distinctions or disagreements. Most denominations will form out of disagreements, inabilities to consensus build.
But I mean, haven't most of the liberal, progressive, other terms been formed out of disagreements and people not? I think that they're still like similar in that way.
But the term, but again, I think the terms is one thing, and again, I think maybe you're talking about the limitations or the ignorance of the English language.
I'm not talking about that. I think I'm more so talking about. I feel like when I'm thinking of like regular people who are becoming like politically educated or whatever, I can see the now. Why you laying back like that?
Stretching my neck.
Oh, okay. I can see the benefit.
I was finished talking, but go ahead.
You know what?
Go ahead.
I can see the benefit of explaining the history of the different terms, but I do think it becomes confusing using all of them because I feel like people do use a lot of them interchangeably. And I'm not sure that's not how you're supposed to use them. And I do think that it confuses people who are like coming into movement or becoming politically educated, and they kind of get frustrated with it because I feel like the thing I hear the most is like identify yourself, like identify the exact thing that you feel or you identify with. And I think that that's an extreme ask for stuff when you look at the definitions of them or look at the beliefs of them, and they're all very, very similar. And I think it's confusing to people that I'm talking to who are like, yeah, I don't care about any of that shit for real.
I don't. But again, I don't think people are helping people understand distinctions by asking people to commit to you're this, you're that. And I think what Musa is saying is very important. Ideological clarity is the basis of struggle, but the nonprofit industrial complex has convinced people otherwise. And again, that is going to bleed right into the whole conversation around why particular platforms and why particular funding and spaces only pick particular people who are going to lay out a political line. And as radical, as black, as cool as they sound, they can still end up in the conservative, which helps.
I don't disagree with that. I do think ideological clarity is important in the basis of how people kind of decide what they believe. I still think that the terms and stuff people use can be confusing because people are using a lot of them interchangeably. And for the people that I'm talking to, or even myself, when I'm reading stuff, it can be very confusing to people. And some folks just want one. What?
That's why political education is a massive need in our environment. Oh yeah. So I don't think we adjust to like because people are not politically sophisticated, we should hunker down. No, like we actually have to raise people's political sophistication.
So I wouldn't say it's adjusting. I think that it's important to make things accessible to folks. Like we can't say that we want to liberate people, that we want a revolution, and then be like, but I'm not gonna adjust the things I'm saying for folks. I just think they need to figure it out.
That's my point. No, that's my point. Popular political education says that. Like you heard phrases like "make it plain." You don't have to compromise the clarity around things just because you feel like people won't understand. People actually understand more than we think. And I remember one time having a conversation with a brother in West Baltimore on Pennsylvania Avenue, and he was explaining how like, yo, I just got a job, and this is an open air drug market, and sometimes boys run down on us, and we'll just pick you up and take you to jail. And now, if you were sitting at a bus stop by to go to work, and you just got this job, you're going to lose that job. You're going to lose the income. And he was able to explain that without giving me the academic terms and all the other stuff for it. So it's not like people can't understand these things. These things have been going on for such time, even as language and words change, even as liberalism, like liberal and all of those words that change throughout time as well. Wilmot Blyden used to use the word and call himself that, and we wouldn't call him a liberal. So.
Yeah.
So just to clarify, I'm not saying that people can't understand the words being used. What I'm saying is that people confuse folks who are trying to be politically educated because they interchange the words when they're talking about some of the same things. They use the same words, but those words have different meanings. And as we just discussed, the history behind them is different. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that people can't understand you unless you like make the language super, super plain. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that when we are doing political education and we're teaching folks these terms, but then we use the same three different words to mean the same thing, that is going to confuse them.
You're absolutely right. That's why we don't do that. You're 100% right. So the good political education is, if we think back to last week, where we talked about what we call ourselves, and we saw like Jay Llewellyn and Leon Winter and Kwame Ture and Ramona Edelin, and we can identify those people and say, okay, well, this person represents a radical idea. So you can actually, one, point people to people who exemplify what you're trying to talk about. So you need actual examples of what you're saying. But then two, and this is my really important point about the distinctions, like I mentioned earlier with the progressives and how they were used to fight communism and socialism, like all these other ideologies, they do have origin points, and we have to know that history because our enemy uses that history to confuse. So that is why the people we're talking to come in with this, like, well, I heard blah, blah, blah. So when you go on Fox News, the left is the Democrats, right? So a mass of people have heard the left, the left, the left, and they think you're talking about the Democratic Party. So in our community all the time, I run into people when we say the left, and they're like, oh, you mean like the Democrats? And so even there, you have to start with political education to clarify what is the left and where does that come from? What do we mean when we say it? A similar thing, though, to your point about terminology and confusion that the right likes to do. You've seen this in our community sometimes where they say, you know, the Democrats supported slavery, right? As a way to sometimes support the Republican Party. So they'll use your confusion about history to push you in a certain direction. The Nazi Party were called National Socialists. So even to this day, when people talk about the Nazis and you say socialism, there's a CIA little that happens where people are, oh, you're talking about the Nazis, death camps, blah, 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 blah. So that is why we really need to be clear on, like, when people say words, what do they mean? And then it's interesting. Wait a minute. Why are the Nazis called the National Socialists? And so when you read Black Shirts and Reds, when you go and look back, you're like, oh, wait a minute. This was an anti-communist movement. And so that's why I'm really big on definitions, but in their historical context. Otherwise, we get confused, you know?
So really quickly, bro, Jamil. So our brother Dakari out of Baltimore in the DMV area has been missing for quite some time. And I don't know, I doubt that is the algorithms that me seeing so many different missing people, but I obviously know that that's a thing. But this is brother Dakari in the DMV area has been missing for a week or two at this point. So you could check Facebook and other places to share and do whatever you can to help find our brother.
Thanks.
Can you post a link in the chat? And I'll share it. I agree with what Musa said that no, you're fine. One's ability to understand terms and concepts is reflective of the educator, not the student. And I think it's also reflective of like what people consume and think it's education, like the news, which is another reason why I don't watch the news. But I do think that they don't use wording correctly because, you know, like the media has an agenda. So like what they're saying is said in a specific way. And I think that that's confusing too. But yeah, I agree with what Musa was saying. I do think that when you are doing a lot of political education, it does like rewire your brain, or it makes you think of like what you originally thought about something before it was like obstructed by the government, or like, you know, what we're taught in schools or church or whatever. I didn't go to one of them churches that indoctrinate you, so I know some people did though.
I think it's to that point, it's a reflection of the student as well, in the sense that like you said, it's what they come in for, and then how much they're ready to eat at one time, right? Like, so when you say that question, again, depending on who I'm talking to, that answer is going to vary. So that's the other thing. And if I know this person just wants a very specific answer to a very specific historical question, I'll just provide that. And that's where their appetite goes for now. And then maybe they come back to me when they want to be fed again for that kind of information. But generally, right, like, I can't necessarily go into a long history of progressives, the IWW, socialism, communism, all of that, when I'm just interacting with someone at an event, right? So we do have to find the shortest point to get to clarity, but also that actually provides people with enough context that they don't leave more confused than when they started talking to us. So that's kind of how I've been trying to approach it.
That makes sense.
And speaking of, so we have a definition of right wing now. We have a definition of liberal. Did want us to jump into our first story.
And can you clue the class, Lori, into why you made us learn these definitions before what were we going to be doing that required these definitions?
Absolutely. So we're going to look at two stories today that are very, very popular. One that flooded West Wing media this week, and that was the discussion of Burkina Faso and their government at the moment passing a new family code, and what we can take out of that family code, what might be a positive development, and then what was a very conservative or right-wing development that is being exploited by the West. So one, we're going to talk about Burkina Faso's new family code. And then another is going to be this Charlemagne the God, Killer Mike interview, which is the greatest hits of Black conservative thought and Black right-wing thought. So we're going to get into those two things next.
Cool. Do we need to pull up the Burkina Faso video?
I think that,
yes, please.
That's not the video you had in the chat, all right?
No. The Burkina Faso video is on the run sheet. It's
yeah.
So just some background on this story. How did y'all hear about it? Because I think that's a important thing here. So we go on, like, I know you said you don't watch the news, Amber. Social media, like Twitter, I'm just seeing a million posts. I'm seeing Instagram posts, trying to react to it and all of that. So first thing I do is I go on Google. I hear this story. I see every Western news source pretty much saying the same thing, which is that Burkina Faso has passed a law banning homosexuality. So I'm just curious. So when we all see like a flood of Western sources reporting on one specific story, what is y'all's reaction? How do y'all approach that?
So I know there was two questions in there. The first question is, how did we hear about it? I didn't hear about it until I saw it in one of our group chats for Bardenville Think Tank. Brother Denzel and actually Goddard's crew was having a conversation about it. So yeah, that. But again, I've been because I experienced U.S. propaganda in the country and out of the country for some time, and then I get to kind of see on the ground what's happening versus what the U.S. might report, Vice News and shit like that. Like, and I guess also because of some training in emancipatory journalism, kind of like even Zell was talking about in the chat. Like, I'm always acting like, well, where did it come from? Who said it? Who wrote it? What is the political utility? And how did someone get the news? Why did they share it? And then why is it being shared to an illiterate United States? And then lastly, let's like, okay, so what does this has to do with the project that's happening right there? So if it is true, right? If this thing has happened, and I read something that they said that Ibrahim didn't. Somebody requested he look at it again and repeal it or whatever. But we don't know the process. We all the way over here. And my question is like, okay, you can point out contradictions with one hand, but then with your other hand, you still should smash imperialism. So like that's kind of where I'll immediately go. Like, yeah, like if there's something over there that is messy or problematic or old thinking or whatever. And I was trying to read the code, and I think it might have started in 1989 or something like that. I'm not sure, but yeah, I think that's a series of thoughts. Like I saw it in a group chat. I agree with a lot of the points that they was making in the group chat, but I'm always like, what's the source? And again, we might even get back to this same conversation in the next conversation. This idea of objectivity by corporate media is wildly lodged into our mind as propaganda that just is killing us, literally.
So I do want to just get on to the video, but that was one thing. Like I immediately,
yeah, because Geechi's so long-winded.
That was a good grounding, Geechi.
Well, I'm just actually trying to get some word in, Amber, because every time I talk, you put and then you keep going. So sometimes, like if you do a word count or time count, I'm probably still down by 25 minutes.
When I said EYL vibes, this is not what I was talking about today, y'all. So
I just want y'all to know that, I'm not saying Geechi's a bully, but
when she go low, I go lower. Obama.
I'm gonna take the bar to hell. But I actually agree with what you said, Geechi. I hadn't heard of the story either. That's all I was gonna say.
Yeah, I was seeing it everywhere from Western news sources. So then my goal is to then see, all right, if they're all saying it, what is their one source? I try to go backwards from finding that source. Obviously, there's things like Burkina Faso's language is not English that we should consider as people, in this hemisphere who speak this language. So I realized I can't read the actual document itself. But I did want to hear people from Burkina Faso talking about it at least. I did not want to hear a Western journalist trying to report on it. So I was able to find this video. It has translation. So if anyone speaks French in the audience and says these are off, that means I was misinformed. But I think this is an accurate translation. So we pulled it up to 9 minutes, a little bit before this. Just if you want to watch the whole video, we can drop it for access. This is about a family code that was passed by Parliament, and it is updating, their family policies, some things around the age of marriage, some things around citizenship. I believe overall there's over 1,100 provisions in this family code. So we are not going to get to all of it here. And as I said before, I don't have the language ability to, so that's why we're learning as a collective process, ask our comrades, ask people who are on the ground, and try and get information that way. But this is at 9 minutes, one piece of their family code we're focusing on today.
The age of marriage is also 18 for both sexes and with exemption at 16. We believe that this could allow for progress because in the old system, marriage was exempted at the age of 15, while schooling was still compulsory until the age of 16. There is a major innovation, which is the prohibition of homosexual and similar practices, as well as sanctions. The law provides for a prison sentence ranging from 2 to 5 years and fines. And if the person who commits these homosexual practices is considered, let's say considered, all the bizarre behaviors, if we feel it, you will be brought before a judge. And if you are a repeat offender, if we feel it, you will be taken to the border, if you are not of Bosnian nationality. So that is very clear, and it is a major innovation on this side because no test on us at the moment had provided for such incrimination. There is of course adoption, which has also been revised somewhat in the bill that has just been adopted because we must not allow Burkinabe children to be adopted.
So we can pause. I think that was the piece.
We do not know by whom.
These are auto translations, I believe. This might be AI, but I think this is auto French translations. And I think they meant to say Burkinabe instead of Bosnian. I caught that as well. So again, I don't speak French, so it's the limited translation aspect of this. But assuming that outside of that minor slip of the tongue, the majority of it is accurate. Just wanted to talk about that with y'all. What are y'all thinking? What have you heard from some comrades? If it's your first time hearing the story, Amber, how does this
Just
strike?
to clarify, they were saying that he's saying that not allowing other people who are not from Burkina Faso to adopt Burkina Faso children.
Yeah, that was one piece. So they talk about a lot. It's a family code. So they talk about adoption structure, citizenship structure, marriage age. That's why you heard about the 18 at the beginning. But they're also talking about homosexuality and how it should be punishable. They call it bizarre behavior. At least that's what it was translated into. And repeat offenses can result in, I believe, 2 to 5 years of jail time. And then ultimately exile was what I think I was hearing as well. So just wanted to tackle that. I think there's a lot of parallels in socialist experiments and decolonial experiments, national liberation projects that we have to examine. But first thoughts when we hear that kind of thing.
Well, normally I ask the elders, do I have permission to speak? But I'll ask Amber. Amber, do I have permission to speak? But so I again, I think I would always ask anybody who's sharing this with me, I would ask them, how does the bill relate to U.S. imperialism? How do you feel about African governing themselves and working out and settling their own values and customs? And then are we competing with the U.S. As captured Africans trying to be the police of the world? Again, not to say that I'm justifying these things, but there's one rule of anything that the U.S. propaganda shares, you should probably believe the exact opposite. And then there's this other thing of like, okay, if, again, as I was saying earlier, if this thing is true, one of the things that I did read, there was a call for President Ibrahim Traore to refer to the code, to refer the code back to Transitional Legislative Assembly for a revision before enacting it into law. And that is in alignment kind of with what Musa said, that it was the parliament that passed it, yet the Western reporting is painting Traore as the face of it. So again, people don't understand our government and how shit work here. I'm just not depending that they could understand anything that's going over there. So that was my thoughts.
Amber, some initial thoughts from you?
I mean, I think that I wouldn't be surprised because we've seen like similar laws passed in other African countries. I do think the whole family code thing is interesting. I do think that people like families should be allowed to decide what they want for themselves. But there was this comment that Kahinde said about many of these homophobic decrees that you see passed through many African governments come from the lobbying of these right-wing U.S. Christian missionary groups. Colonialism persists, and I do think that that has a big part of it, because I noticed, like, when I was in Accra, like the majority of folks there are Muslim or Christian, but mostly Muslim actually. And you can see the differences in like how the Christian folks were acting and like different things they would say or like practices versus the Muslim folks, and how like I could kind of tell that like the Muslim families were allowing people, like they're allowing their family to like make decisions for themselves, because we were at this like safari park and it was like a whole bunch of Muslim folks out there, and it was, I was talking to them and just like kind of getting an idea of like different things, because my siblings and I have been talking about leaving the country and they were talking about how we can't go to Ghana and like some other places because two of my siblings are gay. So they were like, well, we can't go there. And one of them is probably one of them's getting married. My brother's getting married. So they're like, we can't go there because, you know, it's illegal. So I do think a lot of it has to do with, I also agree with Musa, and a lot of it has to do with like these missionary groups. I do wonder what the impact has been since a lot of the missionary groups in Burkina Faso were kicked out, because I know that they don't have them there anymore after Traore took control. But I also think that something I've noticed is that like the parliaments are very different from the actual government, like the actual whoever the president is, because they aren't elected. So they tend to be a lot more strict. And I think you can kind of see this in Ghana, because when I was in Accra last year, I was there when the president was being what's the word? When they're, you know, inaugurated. I was there when he was being inaugurated, and a lot of the cabinet and other stuff did not agree with him, and a lot of them were being replaced with people who he was saying that he could work with. But I think it was a good example of how a lot of them don't agree with the president. And a lot of the people in Accra were saying that this is a much more progressive president that they elected. And one of the reasons why was that he said that he was not going to enforce the law around homosexuality, and actually asked them to repeal it. So I think that that was kind of a push of why people wanted to vote for him. And the other people are appointed, so they don't actually get a chance to vote for those people.
Yeah, really quickly. So I think this is Kamal. Kamal said, I think that it's okay to say you disagree with parts of the code and that you support changing it without saying you also think the government needs to be overthrown. So that reminds me of, I remember being in Costa Rica and I was with one of these white Costa Rican socialists. I don't want to say they're not socialists, white Costa Rican worker groups. And I remember saying I was trying to merge them with the black cultural nationalists in Costa Rica, but we was at this Palestine demonstration. But at the same group who's at the Palestine demonstration was also saying that right across the street in Nicaragua, Ortega is infringing upon people's right to be educated, because they was passing some news from him nationalizing a school who the CIA was still running in Nicaragua, because there's some private spaces in Nicaragua, private industries, but most of the workers are also still unionized. And literally, they didn't follow rules for the last 15, not long, but last 5 years. And when it finally came to a head, and given this is the school that attempted that recent coup in 2018, he nationalized the school, and this supposedly radical group was going along with the same Western media saying like he's suppressing education in the country. And again, the tactic is, as Kamal was saying, to have a little ass stain that literally can be a contradiction resolved, if it is a contradiction, to paint a picture of why the government is not legitimate or why it needs to be overthrown. So I think it's very clear to, again, who's the speaker and then what is their objective with the information that's being shared. Go ahead, Lord.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that is the key. Like, who is the speaker? What is their objective? Why are they sharing this information with you? To that point, I don't want to necessarily downplay it as a small stain, but I do hear you. So on one hand, we got to be
a bigger issue.
Yeah, we got to be dialectical. So like at the end of the day, this is a step overall toward decolonization in that region, and so that should be seen as a positive. We should be supporting that liberation project, no doubt. So on BLM, we understand we have principles of unity. We know where we stand on the support for the Burkina Faso struggle, right? That being said, I did mention something called pinkwashing. So we can start with analyzing the imperialism. I think it's in the chat, Amber. And yeah, it is under my name.
Yeah, I see it. I do. Well, I want to make one more comment. When y'all were talking about the family code thing, I do think that it's important to like put in the context that like we don't really see that here, because I didn't know what that was either. And I did look into the thing someone in the chat was talking about Cuba. I think it was Sono talking about Cuba and like how there's this like high bar for that. And I know it's in our show like run thing too. But I do think that that's interesting as a concept because I've never heard of it other than in Cuba and in Ghana and Burkina Faso and like some other African countries. And I wonder, like, before colonization, like how it was used.
That's something I have a video. If you see it on the Instagram that I did bring up, I wanted to
look at the video on Instagram. Yes.
Yeah, balance the internal contradictions of Burkina Faso and then the external ones. And so I think that's what we're trying to do here. So I did that comment I have about pinkwashing. If you could raise that real quick. So pinkwashing is a political strategy where a government, organization, or company promotes itself as being progressive and supporter of LGBTQ plus rights to divert attention away from its negative actions. And so when all these Western media sources in concert all at once yesterday post Burkina Faso bans homosexuality, right? The implication is that they care. The implication is that they are people who are on the right side of that historically, and we know that's not true. So they're really only trying to find this one flaw that they can, latch onto. My issue internally,
really quickly. So I think that's, if I said that incorrectly, I apologize. But I think that's what I was trying to say in terms of this one flaw. If you look at the large progress of this country, these people, I don't think, again, especially centering the primary contradiction, I don't think even knowing about it, because I don't think people are really clear on it, and we're reading from third and second and fourth sources. And so what I'm saying is, if there's so many progress being made, and again, given what Musa said was true, this thing is probably this thing could be mitigated or changed or resolved.
Yeah.
So it's not like something that should be plastered like this is the reason why this government is not legitimate. And so that's kind of what I was trying to say.
No, absolutely. And this is something that can be struggled through, and we want to understand that we can struggle through it in that context far easier than we in the empire here can struggle through it. So I 100% wanted to acknowledge that. Just looking at the internal development and contradictions, though, Amber said video I linked, there is, I'm always wondering where this comes from, because as you said, it's been spread around, other countries that aren't with revolutionary governments right now, like Uganda and things like that. And so I look at the origin. My immediate thing is, what is the religious background of this country? So I look and I see Christianity and Islam as influences. I look at how Christianity was introduced, Amber, to your point about missionaries, versus Islam, which had a more organic introduction into Burkina Faso's society. So I know, Geechee, you talked to Butch Ware. So we have to understand that Christianity and Islam don't always develop the same. They aren't introduced the same in different African societies. But then my question is always, what happened before? What are the indigenous African spiritualities, belief systems, and things like that? And then are they at odds with this right-wing understanding of family and sexuality? So that's why we talked about that term right-wing before. If you're homophobic, that is a right-wing belief system. If you're a patriarchal, that is a right-wing belief system. So in this decolonization project, which we support, there are strains of right-wing thinking. And that's why I want to not run from those, but highlight them for two reasons. And then we can play the video. One, I think tactically, this is a weakness. If you're a liberation movement, you just give the West ammo. Like, if you know what pinkwashing is, why would you do this? Even if you don't personally believe, right, that LGBTQ folks are equal and that they should be given all the rights of other families. Giving the West this ammo, if you know how they move historically, is not tactically smart for a liberation movement. But then, as I said, ideologically, I don't agree. It's right wing as well. And that's why the sister who talked about this element of Burkina Faso society is important, that we're about to look at real quick.
I agree. I think the religious background is important here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to play it from the beginning. So hold on just a second.
Queer and African spirituality and the special place that queer people hold in Dagara spirituality specifically. The Dagara people are a community in Burkina Faso, West Africa. They do not assign gender based on anatomy, but based on energy. The Dagara believe that there are specific gateways on the earth that allow access between the physical and the metaphysical realm, and that maintenance of these gates is essential to balance on the earth. The people responsible for maintaining these gates are known as gatekeepers, which is the Dagara term for queer people. The Dagara believe that queer people, with their unique blend of masculine and feminine energies and their ability to sit on the border of the two, vibrate at a higher spiritual level that gives them access to and control of these gates. The Dagara not only believe that queer people's maintenance of these gates keep the world in order, but they also believe that the targeting of queer people in recent times will lead to inevitable ecological disaster. If you don't know me, I'm Mumia Abu-Jamal. I'm a writer and storyteller. My debut novel, The Waning, which is a fantasy based on feminist and non-Western spirituality, is coming out on July 1st this year.
So
I like her.
Me too. She gives a source, and I think it's oral tradition. So she does name two storytellers who pass that information on to her, because I'm always, I love these, but I'm always like source.
And where did you get that from?
Anytime. But I think this is very, very interesting. Again, when we talk about the history of that society, where their understanding of family comes from, which spiritual systems are given priority, and which ones are discarded. So.
Yeah. I also think that one of the issues that I noticed, especially from like African countries, is that because of the language barrier and the way that the media represents things like in the West, we don't actually get the real true story unless you're talking to them. Like, I think I said this before, like when I was in Accra, you really realize how much people definitely understand colonization. They definitely understand like how their resources are being used and like being exploited in the different African countries. They understand all of that stuff, but none of those stories or even like how they, live everyday life gets out there because usually of the like language barrier because they're speaking French in Burkina Faso. And I do try to watch stuff, but it's very hard because I don't know French. And I've been asking my mom actually because she took French. And sometimes she'll know some of the words, sometimes she doesn't, but then she's always like, what is this about? And then I'll send her the video and she's like, this is interesting. So I do think the language barrier thing is part of an issue. And I don't like using AI to do it. Because I know when we posted that other video, when he was talking in the interview, I didn't feel like the AI was completely right in some of the stuff he was saying. I was a little concerned. Yep. So I really would love someone to just actually translate versus using the AI thing. But other than that, yeah, I think that they purposely are going to show us what they're saying anyways. And so I have to go to all these different third sources. And now the Africa stream is down. It's like a whole thing. It's really ruining my life, but that's my soapbox.
Yeah. Geechee, I know you've been to Cuba and studied that revolutionary project. So I did bring up the family code. And one thing I see parallel here that Musa brought up is the focus on the singular figure. Like, again, this great man theory of history, like, why didn't Traore fix it? Or these are Traore's personal views, which sometimes even conservative personal views are, if they're principled people, revolutionaries, they might hide those in terms of democracy. So like, even if I personally don't agree with this, my people voted for this, I push that forward. So I wanted to separate it from like this individual and focus more on Burkina-based society. right? Like I said, the religious background. But Geechee, I raised that because I think it's really similar to critiques I heard growing up around Fidel Castro as well, and how he might that there were queer people who were sent to work camps, which he apologized for. There was homophobia in the society, and it's almost always like laid at the feet of Fidel. Like, what, Fidel, you're the problem, why didn't you fix it? And whether Fidel was homophobic or not, and I would argue he's probably more progressive than a lot of people in the society, he has an entire society that he's governing, right? So there's still Roman. My first question when someone told me that, I'm like, well, are they Catholic in Cuba? He's like, yep. Okay, so Roman Catholicism is the number one religion. That's what your people believe. So how are you, an individual, going to be above and beyond your people's spiritual, cultural development? It just doesn't make any sense to me. So that's also what I was thinking about.
Yeah, I mean, I think that just kind of goes into Western's concept and understanding of leadership. And then maybe even when we are in those spaces, how we tend to engage in what we think to be leadership. So I don't see anybody, especially here, and we talk about the illiteracy rates here and just the staunch cognitive dissonance. Like, yeah, that's a matter. They will immediately say Traore or the revolution in general, socialism or whatever, is the reason why this thing. And that's why you'll have people saying, well, communism and capitalism is the same thing. And again, I just think it's a bad faith experiment. And even when I was looking into it, this started back in July 2024, where Reuters, whatever that platform called, NBC, and a couple other, Washington Blade, they were already kind of talking about the draft amendment of family codes that will criminalize homosexuality. So it's not like it just happened yesterday, or the conversation has happened yesterday, but it's been quite some time. And then, like I said, when I was trying to translate and read through the codes, it looks like, and I could be wrong, but it looks like it's been an older document that they've been either struggling with or trying to.
They haven't updated in a while.
Yep.
I do want to bring up Dante's comment. He said, imagine if we all learn new languages for movement conversations. I actually have been learning Tree and a little bit of French. One of my really good friends is Haitian, so I've also sent her some of the stuff sometimes to like translate for me. But I do think that's like the next thing after like reading more. Because like what Geechee was saying, the literacy issue, especially here, like Memphis has the worst literacy rates. And I think the coolest thing I saw from the class I was teaching for the Black August Freedom School is how much people were like, I actually never have to read this much or like do all this work, but it was actually really interesting. So they were reading a lot of stuff that I sent them because it was more interesting than they thought it was going to be, I guess. So now they're reading a lot of stuff, but they weren't reading as much before. And I think sometimes people just have to be turned on to something that's interesting to them. Like, the normal stuff we're reading is not that interesting. So I don't really have the attention span or like the excitement there. But when I'm reading something really cool, then it's kind of like, wait, no, I had never heard this concept before, or this is an interesting political ideology. I'm going to finish it. So I do think that kind of helps too when we put them on to something that is like worth it. Also, since Laura came back, I want to put this one up. Yipper said, can Laura read Amber's mind, or is he prepared for every question because of experience? He can't read my mind. We had a conversation before this.
Magic of dialectics, though. And it's back to what we said at the beginning, Amber. Like, that's what my philosophy is. Yeah, it's not the kids, y'all just boring. Like, to that point, like, yeah, what are you teaching? We're preparing some writing for our publication, Wartime on Malcolm. So I've been going back and studying what he did and what he was aiming to do. He studied a lot of language, and I just came across this passage recently where he talks about how he was embarrassed when he was in Africa and couldn't speak a language. He said it made him feel childlike, where people are talking past him and he has to wait and ask somebody to explain something to him. So that was one thing. He says he wants to learn Arabic and Chinese because he thinks Arabic is going to be the spiritual language of the world, and he thinks that Chinese is going to be the political language. And this is Malcolm predicting that very long time ago, which is really dope. George Jackson talks about wanting to learn Spanish, as well as Arabic and Chinese. And so I think a lot of our revolutionaries recognize what you said, that we need to learn other languages. so we can communicate with the world's people. So,
which I think is important.
Yep. All right, we got a little time left. Are we ready for the main course? We ready to get into it? We got what right wing is. We know what liberals are. We know what a conservative is. Let's jump into our boys.
Lord. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Pulling up the minute markers. So keep talking for just a second.
Sure. So there's context on this interview, although we know these folks. So Killer Mike has a podcast. He's bringing on different personalities to, do the podcasting thing. I personally cannot stand how these podcasts don't have timestamps. Oh my goodness, it needs to change. But we went through this full, however many, 2 hours. So y'all don't have to. We're going to pull up some time steps if you're interested in the entire interview. It's called
Conversate.
That's right. The Price of Integrity, featuring Charlemagne the God on Conversate, which is Killer Mike's podcast. Let's get into it.
All right. We're at.
That's shit you come up with. But I always said that name is going to look really good on a marquee or on the cover of a book.
And it does.
And it absolutely does.
And you have been unapologetic in your pride in being Black. You've been unapologetic in your representation of lessons. You've been unapologetic to the point of wearing a beautiful piece of jewelry, one of my favorite pieces of jewelry on any other person of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
That's right.
How has your association with the lessons and the Nation of Islam, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, how has that affected you in terms of manhood, masculinity, and integrity?
Well, my relationship with the Nation of Islam started very early too, because my father and Brother Don Muhammad, who I'm sure you know, Brother Don Muhammad literally lived in the town over from us. Like
I never knew that.
Oh yeah, his whole family, the Coopers, they all, and his brothers and cousins, they were all like popular DJs and stuff. Yeah. So they lived literally in the next town over from us. So my dad had a relationship with the Nation from day one. Like my dad was always making me sit down and watch, speeches from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And I never really paid him no attention until I heard Chuck D say Farrakhan's a prophet, and I think you ought to listen to him. Yeah. And then, Biggie later on said deep like the mind of Farrakhan. So I'm like, oh, okay, this is who my pops would always want me to watch. Then my dad gave me the autobiography of Malcolm X. When you read the autobiography of Malcolm X, or when you listen to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, what do they always say? We give, as our teacher, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said. Yep. And so I was like, who's the Honorable Elijah Muhammad? So that's when I read Message to the Black Man and How to Eat to Live. So for me, that whole my spiritual foundation comes from my grandmother being a Baptist, my mother being a Jehovah's Witness, and my dad getting this fellowship from the Kingdom Hall and really diving into Islam and the NOI. And so that whole spiritual foundation, like those, they really taught us how to live. Like if you read the autobiography of Malcolm X, the first thing I thought to myself when I read that book was like, man, growth is possible. Absolutely. You can transcend any circumstance that you're currently in. And then you couple that with a book like From Niggas to Gods by Kids. So my whole, existence to me was about growth. That's all I ever thought about. Growth like a video game. How do you constantly get to that next level? Every year, that you have a birthday is another level. Every day is another level. So for me, the Nation of Islam it still is everything to me. Like they taught me not just how to be I'm not even just a man, just how to be.
So for me, I think every time, and there's a concerted effort to not watch him as much because I guess it goes back to, so as Killer Mike called him a journalist, right? It's kind of difficult sometimes because it's like everybody in the story he's talking about, I know. And like, there's like, and even the history, like, yes, Jehovah's Witness did have a grip on Moncks Corner for a while. And there's a lot of people who was rocking with them. But I think, just the framing of this conversation is problematic in terms of integrity. Of all the things that dude has said and did, I remember a time a couple years ago. So he comments things, and he posts things, and I would comment on it. And instead of like respond to the comment, he would like call me or text me, and then try to like talk like, oh, we all saying the same thing, and I'm like, well, we're not. And then he was like, well, give me an example, and I was like, well, whenever you talk about this racial wealth gap, like this is inaccurate. It was like, well, even Sandy Darity and the guy with the afro, you'll agree with me. I said, are you talking about Derek Hamilton? He said, yeah. And so while he's talking, I'm texting Derek Hamilton. I said, hey, have you ever met Charlemagne? He's like, I only talked to him like once. But Charlemagne was saying that they worked together. And I'm like, and then I showed him like the 10 things we get wrong about the racial wealth gap. And literally 6 months later, this dude texted me and talked about the racial wealth gap, the article, as if like I never told him about it. He was like, yeah, man, I've been doing this for years. I'm like, but so again, there's other things that's way worse than that in terms of a story. But in terms of integrity, it's crazy, right? Now, again, this is Killer Mike's podcast. They are really irate about FD's video, where FD talks about Killer Mike, the recent one, at the end, and they shout out the campaign that Love, Land, and Liberation that we are doing with CMB. And so they were there the whole time having some subliminal digs, right? He has a few subliminal digs about some conversations we had. But even when you look at the chats, you can see that these people, again, are being consumed and not engaged, and certainly not in a critical way. Like, people are fans that's in the chat. So at the 3.5 minute, I'm sorry, 3 minutes and 50 seconds minute mark, the early in there, Nard says this like, oh, it's all just capitalism at the end of the day. And because he was explaining how people don't really care about anything, especially he's talking about artists. They don't really care about these things. They just really care about the bottom line of profit. And he tried to position himself to care, but again, you'll see all throughout the video they capping for capitalism the whole time. So I just think
literally capping. So I wanted to talk about like just the psych warfare. If you could pull it just back up before we start playing again. So this is psychological warfare. Like when we talk about it all the time, when Jared says black capitalism is psychological warfare, we talk about counterinsurgency. Like some people will say, well, why are you even bringing this up? We get those every single time because this is counterinsurgent. This is a podcast where Brother Charlemagne is wearing some shit. We need more black billionaires, right? So let's just start with the hat. Like start with the messaging that is being set in this place. This conversate. Killer Mike knows. All these black bourgeoisie people know how to make shit sound chocolate wrapped, how to make it sound black coded so it seems more authentic. That is what Mike does this entire interview, is he switches between black conservative capitalist talking points and this I'm a community man, I know this person, I know this elder, I know this auntie, I know this person, blah, 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 blah.
Back to I'm a revolutionary.
Exactly. And how they position history. So by setting themselves up this way to look serious, to pretend like, they care about the community, they're in the community and doing all this work, they then start telling you history. Amber, to your point about like, they give you PE here. It's bad PE, it's counterinsurgent PE, but they're doing it. They're automatically positioning Farrakhan next to Malcolm X. That's just historically terrible. That's wrong. It's counterinsurgent on purpose. And you'll notice in this interview, they only bring up Malcolm X to spit their black capitalist talking points about personal transformation and all of that. The person they focus on, like a lot of black conservatives, are the black conservative wings of those movements. Farrakhan and Elijah Muhammad. You'll hear Umar constantly talk about Frederick Douglass and being related to Dr. King or some shit, right? And then only quote Dr. King before 1963. So I just wanted to talk about the psychological warfare that has been set 10 minutes into this podcast. So
I definitely feel like it was a psyop. I also feel like the whole purpose of Killer Mike's podcast, and this is the only episode I've seen, but I feel like just from this episode, the whole point is to rebrand these people in a way that like makes you think that Charlemagne is a good person and doesn't talk about any of the fucked up shit that he's done or like the fact that he's a bad person. Like I feel like he is really trying to humanize Charlemagne, make him seem like this honorable person because he had a meeting with the Honorable Muhammad and started crying and recorded the whole thing. He still got the recording, he still listened to it, and he told him that he was going to be an impeccable man, all this stuff. And I was like, y'all are trying to rebrand this man into something that he is definitely not.
I think it's more so of running cover and being able. So again, they're being consumed. When you look at their comments, people are saying stuff like, "Well, when Farrakhan dies, God forbid, we're not gonna have any more black leaders, right? So this is the type of audience that they're talking to. But again, FD numbers is doing more than them. And remember, Killer Mike them has a fail ass bank situation, and so podcast is the bag. So that's what they're doing. They're going to get the bag, and in going to get the bag, they're making sure they're put the gate on any left rhetoric. Yep. On top of that, Nard is in town. He was in town at the time at InvestFest. And at InvestFest is a national big ass stage where idiots are on stage talking about if you want to you really want to be business, you got to be a business owner like Malcolm X. Malcolm X is the typical, and I'm like, what the fuck? So again, this is.
I love how you call him by his real name.
Yeah, you and Monique.
You and Monique.
Well, his real name is Leonard. So and
Leonard.
Yeah, but
how did you get the Charlemagne?
He talked about that at the beginning of the interview, which is
he said I thought he was explaining the God part. I didn't understand the Charlemagne.
No, he said Charlemagne was a French ruler, but then there was a Haitian revolutionary, and so he tries to flip it between.
And then he said that the God part was from the whole Muslim thing and the Islam practice or whatever. And then that's how he knew that he was a good person and all this stuff. And I was like, that's weird, but okay.
Yeah. We could let this rock a little more. They're gonna do a little more nation rehabilitation. So
you don't want to skip to the fort?
No, you could just keep playing it. I think there's a little bit more to this piece.
Yeah, a positive soul on this planet. When we talk about being a spiritual being, living a human existence, that's what the Nation of Islam instilled in me.
Yeah, I look at a lot of things today that people are paying a lot of money for, and it was given to you damn near free. If you go to there's a sister online right now that talks about what she learned in the NOI in terms of just courtship. You know, I hear people arguing back and forth about how men and women should treat each other, but you hear your grandparents say, well, you got to court a woman. And you didn't know what courting was, but this time you still court. They sit on separate sides. You enter one of those temples of the mosque, the men are on one side, the women are on the other side. If you see a woman you like, you don't just walk up to her and talk to her. If there's a proper way that you get introduced to her, you guys are in the company of other people. It's amazing that we've lost so many things that organization, whether you believe religiously what they believe or not, the organization, the organized movement of Black people structurally has been amazing. Took men who were in jail, out of jail, gave them a paper to sell, but that taught them entrepreneurship, and that entrepreneurship, they went on to open businesses. So I think oftentimes when we're searching for the answers are there. I managed to lose 70.
All right. So this is why we started with the definition of right wing and conservative, because this is super right wing, very, very conservative, trying to rehabilitate the Nation of Islam. Now, here's again the part we talk about with liberals. So they are trying to mix in the positive elements of the dialectic of the Nation of Islam, organizing the unorganizable, but organizing brothers in prison, giving them discipline and purpose, giving them something to do to contribute to organization. All of these things are positive, right? But Charlemagne and Killer Mike now mix this up with the Nation of Islam's gender politics and how these are good. So you already said something about Charlemagne that I just want to highlight. Oh my God. So Charlemagne, first and foremost, is known for his antics on the Breakfast Club, sexually harassing women. So this is somebody telling you how much the nation taught him how to treat women and how good they are. Whether you want to lay that at the feet of the nation, I don't even think that's fair. But growing up, I don't know how old you were when the Breakfast Club was in its heyday, but I remember seeing Charlemagne make women uncomfortable. That was his gag, teaching young boys to laugh at that shit, my friends laughing at that shit, and sniffing farts off of chairs. This is the man who's telling me, now, even again, the nation, I didn't see Elijah sniffing farts off of chairs, okay? I think he's a little more dignified than that. But I do think that's important, is who Charlemagne is. Charlemagne is somebody who sexually harassed women. He has a rape allegation. This is very important about this person to highlight before we go on. Go ahead, Geechee.
Yeah, so I think it's important. That sister is the one that the allegation. That sister is also from all these people are all in, like, we all grew up together, right? And so there's a lot more cringy, weird stuff. And one could argue for him that the case was, he beat the case, right? But I think there's a humanizing point where, and that all of us experience, and I don't think this only happened in Mons Con. I think this happened everywhere. Like when we grew up, like even women would ask us like, boy, you look like you gonna have a bunch of girlfriends, or how many girlfriends you got? Oh, you get some coochie yet? Blah, blah. Like that's a conversation that starts very young, right? And so one could argue like, oh, well, this is why, because he was weaponized as a child and this thing happened or whatever. And like, we can talk about all those things, but kind of to your point, like there still has to be a conversation around like the political trajectory of like, you could say that you're reforming as your personal behaviors and you're treating people differently and better. But again, your ultimate end goal is to maintain the deep oppression that is happening on a massive scale to multiple people, and you get a couple trinkets on the way to that thing. And so this is an example of like, as radical whatever he is, when he goes on Laura Trump on Fox News, he has to hold the line. And this is just an example of him holding the line really quick. Oh,
socialism.
Well, but he says that's what he.
I don't like the word socialism.
He says that's what he's for,
I know,
right?
and if you watch him on Breakfast Club, I told him, I said, Democrats, y'all come up with, all type of language for all types of other stupid stuff, right? Like pregnant people and, whatever it is. Like
birthing people.
Yeah, all of that.
They need a new term then. You don't like socialism.
Term for socialism, but I think affordability is actually the right term. When you're speaking to people's pockets, people will always hear you, because that is something, I don't care if you're black, white, gay, straight, regardless of what your party is, your religion is. If you are a person who is, we want two things in America. We want more money in our pocket and we want to feel safe. Mm-hmm. If you can speak to that, you will always connect with people.
Yeah. Horrible analysis that we expect from Charlemagne. Yeah, we're going to get into their black capitalism. They already started on it. They're doing it now. It's going to be the entire time. They're going to mention Malcolm and then not actually engage him at all, because he would be disgusted by these two people. And I really do think that they're playing a game, because we're going to get into the next personality they mentioned around youth and structure, and this idea again that we're saying we need to go back to conservative gender norms and relationships. So shouting the Nation of Islam out as your model for gender relations is wild. And even now, in the current moment, Killer Mike is describing a practice that if you go back to The Fire Next Time and James Baldwin, where he talks about going to meet Elijah Muhammad, he talks about that too. He said he came in Elijah Muhammad's house. The women are separate. They're not allowed to talk. The girls have to be quiet and whispering. James seems to be kind of neutral to it, which is interesting because he's just a guest there, but the women are not allowed to speak. This is James Baldwin's own telling of it. Like, they can't talk. The girls have to be quiet at the table. When they sit at dinner, everyone respects the men's voice. This is the gender norms that Killer Mike said. You couldn't just go up to talk to a girl. You had to court her. And then we know why Malcolm broke from the Nation of Islam around Elijah Muhammad's conduct with young girls. So you, Charlemagne, with a rape allegation that you beat in the white man's court, are here rehabilitating your own image and the Nation of Islam's image as a model for how Black people need to be teaching our kids gender and sexuality.
And even though he beat that rape charge, he still is a serial cheater. Like he talks
about, thank you, Amber.
He talks in there about how, like, how his wife is the best thing that ever happened to him. But even though, his dad would ask him how many girlfriends does he have, and he was fighting between the righteous and the rebellion. And he cheated on this lady multiple times, and she dumb for not leaving. But either way, it wasn't once or twice. He's cheated on her multiple times. And yet at the same time is putting out these books about how to be a good man and doing all these podcast shows and these interviews. And I said, this is how you know these motherfuckers don't be reading or listening for real. Because if you're listening to any of the stuff he says, and even on the radio show when he's admitted to cheating on his wife, but then putting out all these books about being a good man and emotions and mental health, like your mental health, your depression didn't make you cheat on that lady.
Yep. And thank you, Amber, for reminding me of this, because this is how the rehabilitation works. It uses our short attention spans, people's new introduction to figures, and not having that historical memory. I know. I was a teenager listening to this man sexually harass women, sniff farts off chairs, and talk about cheating on his wife. And then, in addition to bragging about cheating on his wife, there was the whole thing where DJ Envy actually got caught cheating on his wife. And it was beef with Jesus and Muro, and they were about to fight in the studio in that shit over Envy getting caught cheating on his wife with Erica Mena and all of that. So I know why Mike and why Charlemagne get real angry add an FD. One, for just a principle political analysis, but also because we're going to pull up tape. Like, we're not going to just let this be an access journalism press run. Like, I'm going to go back and tell you, talking to young kids about how cheating on the wife is cool.
Which is why I was saying I feel like it was a rebrand. Because, I mean, Charlemagne has been doing this rebrand for years. Like, even with his podcast network, having all these women shows on there, there's a reason why he gave all these women businesses opportunities with their podcast, because he wants to be seen as the good guy. Because I remember when I listened to Horrible Decisions, and when they got like signed to his network or whatever, it was like a big thing. Like, it transformed their business. And so he's like this, uncle that's mentoring them and making sure that they can, reach the top and be where they're supposed to be, because, that's what women deserve. Mind you, these are both two light-skinned women. Ain't nobody dark skin or brown skin in the mix. And most of the people that's on his podcast network that are women are also light skinned. So he never beaten the colorism allegations for me, but still.
So for one, I don't know that man do what he do, right? Him and Jessica been together for quite some time, like long time.
He said on the podcast, 27 years.
Yeah, but
he also admitted to cheating on her multiple times.
Yeah, that's fine. So whatever they're doing with that, like I think that's because I feel like I think that takes us to a conversation to argue about around some things, where if it's a political conversation, that's kind of where I would talk about. But yes, that makes the person a bad particular whatever. But yeah, I just think sometimes the conversations get kind of taken off of a place, and then it's like, oh, this is a bad person. Like, yes, yeah, they probably is a bad person, but the bad idea,
his morals are bad.
Again, I don't really care about none of that as it relates to the political utility of what he and Mike can do on a platform and how it can convince people. But on this, how their political line sounds similar to other people's political lines as well.
Yes.
So that's kind of what I'm.
Yes, I think the personal and the political, that's what we're always trying to balance. This isn't so much just going at people personally, but if you've been here before, you know how this goes. Like, we have a purpose for this. I did want to point out.
I do want to just add, based off what Geechee said, the purpose of me saying that is that I think that the personal and political go together based off the podcast, because I feel like they are using their political line around Islam and other things to talk about how women should be treated, and they themselves are not doing that. So that's why I brought it up.
100% agree. Before we move on, just to highlight, we wanted to talk about, again, how do you know the right wing? Like, in addition to being pro-capitalist, right? In addition to having patriarchal gender norms, although Killer Mike's a good liberal, Charlemagne's a good liberal, and they'll talk out of both sides of the neck. So they'll call the Honorable Louis Farrakhan in The Nation, and then they'll be on Today's Show or whatever, talking about how they support LGBTQ, folks and things like that. So they're chameleons, they're grifters. Depending on their audience, they'll change their tone and their tune. But I do want to point out that these are all people who are very, very well established and accepted by the power structure, either the black bougie power structure or the white corporate power structure. So Charlemagne is a New York Times bestseller for his book. He's iHeartRadio approved. Killer Mike has ties to Atlanta's elite, like Andy Young, supported Cop City, received a Grammy recently for Album of the Year, a little DEI Grammy or whatever, right? So these are all people who have been accepted and applauded by white America despite their behavior. So white America knew Charlemagne acted like this, and they give him chances to constantly rebrand. And to Geechee's point, it's because he's politically useful. It's not because he's some brilliant, personality.
And so really quickly too, so what I know him to be doing, because there are many people in our community in Charleston, North Charleston, Moncks Corner, and areas who all kind of look up to him in a way where they think he can put them on. And so what he has intentionally done is audition particular women, and if they catch, then they are again cannon fodder for the bigger, deeper allegations and or allegations and real things that has happened. Like, they can protect him, and that's kind of what happens. So whenever a woman comes forth, just Teslin, just hilarious, Angela Rye, Tamika Mallory, all these people would literally run to his defense because of him putting him on. But on top of all those people, there's a bunch of people who wasn't on the platform because they didn't catch. Like I have a young sister who, a few people back at home that when they was kind of trying to replace Angela Yee, they had a couple different women audition for that situation. And then they do have, which he would probably say to you, Amber, they do have 2 brown-skinned sisters on the show now, right? But so like again, I would focus less on that thing and focus more on like, yeah, he's using these black women as cannon fodder to ward him off from the bigger issues of the black women who aren't so popular, who aren't so whatever. And I think that's the overall objective of him putting them in front. Like he's running cover for them. And when they get on the platform, you listen to them, they say shit like NATO is the big homie, right? And that's what gets them lodged into a damn Fox ecosphere.
Yes. I see some pushback on the Grammy thing. I'm hating. Yes, I am a hater. Welcome to the channel. But it's a minor point, as you said. If it distracts from the political analysis, fine. Ignore that I said that. Whatever. The point is, white corporate establishment is cool with these 2 folks.
And iHeartMedia got some connections to the CIA too. By
yep.
Let's
no question.
About that.
And that's why I don't be going to that music festival. Anyways. Someone in the chat, Renee asked that he's written a book. He's actually written several. Actually, they be letting that nigga hire ghostwriters left and right, I guess. I don't know. But also someone said, Lori, did you have braces? Because your teeth are gleaming. And I will say you do have a great smile.
Thank you. Thank my parents. I appreciate that. Yes, I did.
Because some of us had to pay for our own braces. But
I was blessed.
Okay, I'm back to the thing.
Our next. So we got the greatest hits. So Nation of Islam is how we should teach our kids how to relate with gender. We need more black billionaires.
The Dr. Umar and the Independent.
And now we get into next on the bingo card, our favorite doctor.
Sorry for the ads, y'all. I don't have to pay YouTube.
And I said because they are the foundation of everything that we stand on, whether it's your mother, whether it's your grandmother. Don't get me wrong, our fathers and our uncles was there for us as well. But when it comes to like that spiritual side of us, like that nurturing side of us, it comes from them.
What they say, you educate a man, you educate a man. One person, right. You educate a woman, you educate a nation.
That's
absolutely,
right.
Absolutely. I didn't know Ab Lava was telling me that he and his cousin went to Claire Muhammad School here in Atlanta. They went to Claire Muhammad School. For those that talk about black charter schools, things that Nation of Islam had schools, and those schools produce children much like the Wilson Academy that's here in Atlanta now. The Wilson Academy, former Ohio State player, has the Wilson Academy out in Lithonia, Georgia, produced a 13-year-old that got in his spelling, have a 100% rate of putting kids in college. So a lot of times, I think black people have gotten so addicted to the talking about failure that we don't talk enough about our successes. There's such talk going around now about what's our brother's name? The psychologist, Dr. Umar.
Dr. Umar Johnson.
And people either celebrating or commiserating the failure or perceived failure, that we don't talk about things like the Wilson Academy, which is accelerating. We got a brother down here in Albany, Georgia. Forgetting his name right now, but that brother's teaching young men how to do everything from change tires to calculus and mathematics. We have a lot of success around us.
Absolutely.
And I've seen you.
And I don't think Dr. Umar Johnson is a failure.
I don't think he's a failure.
And the reason
we talk about him like as though he is. Yeah.
I think
anytime you woken up a mind, you haven't failed.
Listen, I think Dr. Umar set out to do exactly what he said he was going to do.
Yeah.
The school is in Delaware.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But what I think what Dr. Umar may have fell short is he didn't have enough unity in group operation.
Absolutely.
He wanted to do it, all by himself. That's a tall task. You know what I mean? It's a tall task to say, hey, I want to go open up a school in a community if you've never done
it. So if his hat say he's a billionaire, if his hat say we need more black billionaires, and they talk about all the black billionaires they know, them niggas had enough money, all of them, to bankroll Umar if they really support Umar. But the reality is what they brought Umar on the platform for is to, again, put a ring around what Pan-African rhetoric is. And so they help white folks plaster what Pan-African is so people don't take Pan-Africanism seriously. And so again, when I'm having a conversation with him and I'm telling him like you don't control who you bring on. You actually are puppeteer and how you bring on and who you pertain, because you won't bring on particular radical people. And yeah, there was a little joke recently when I shared with them, like, yo, now that what's that girl name? Amanda Seals is bringing them on, and that's your homegirl. I guess your time, like now it's your turn. But I know they won't, because again, it's going to be really hard for you to crop and co-op an actual emancipatory journalist like maybe Jared, right? So when Nard and Mike is on this thing saying, "Well, you're a real journalist. You're a real," like again, he's a corporate used journalist, with a particular leaning. There's no objective or neutral journalism. All journalism has a particular political aim, and they won't be able to clearly say that because they're too much posturing around. Well, you know, my nigga gonna get killed because he made 2 presidents mad. No, I thought you was gonna get killed because you, like, bro.
That shit was crazy to me.
That's disrespectful, bro. Like that's extremely disrespectful. Again, while you're on iHeartMedia, that actually has 3 CIA shows, and the founder of iHeartMedia worked with the CIA. They're not gonna put no revolutionary on their damn platform. So stop. Like I don't even understand. This shit is wild to me, bro. It's disrespectful.
The whole interview was insane, and I blame both of y'all for making me watch this bullshit. But I do just want to add that the stuff they were saying about Dr. Umar, one, didn't make any sense to me because the nigga's an obvious scammer. But 2, just points to the fact that they was working this rebrand hard. I said, y'all trying to rebrand yourself, Dr. Umar, and Malcolm X.
That's why I'm saying it's a psychological warfare. Like it's so many things happening at once, loaded into you, loaded into our community, loaded into our people, that they're taking with little pieces of this argumentation. They're going to take with them, internalize it, and then regurgitate it to us. And that's why I mean we have to, with PE, contextualize, where is this stuff coming from? Where are you drawing this from? This is crazy. The Dr. Umar thing, for so many reasons, but as you're saying, Ichi, they're putting a ring around what is safe Pan-Africanism, and then telling white people, oh, this is where you can put your money because this is going to be okay. Again, like right wing, patriarchy and homophobia are right wing. It is not hard. It is very, very simple to understand this. And so every person they keep bringing up is patriarchal or homophobic. Why is that happening? Why is that a consistent through line throughout this entire thing? So Dr. Umar, if you all aren't aware, is openly homophobic. He's very patriarchal. He wants these traditional gender norms. Old friend of the platform, Diallo, used to call him a militant integrationist. So that is the language for this person. He's also an educator. So what I want to point out is like, he is a professional. This is another thing about Umar, that like the doctor isn't made up, but we have to understand what is he doing in the community. So his whole bag, the thing he sells people on is, I care about Black boys. Black boys are, over disciplined, pushed out and pushed into special education, or as students with disabilities, behavioral things, right? So that's Dr. Umar's whole
He got him with the griff because he was making sense at first.
Yeah, so like all Black people in our community, he's pulling from a tradition. So he pulls from that Harlem speaker box, soapbox tradition, and he also pulls from this Black male educator tradition. The Black boys are in crisis that we see in the 80s with Jawanza Kunjufu. He comes out of that history. So there's legitimate things in our community that he's pulling from, but again, they were always conservative. So the key takeaway to me, in addition to pumping Umar, who's openly homophobic and patriarchal and all the things and goofy, is that they also talk about, well, what are examples of successes? And the examples of successes they give are shit that is like to the right of what the Panthers were doing decades ago in terms of community programs. So it's all this shit about we gotta teach boys to change tires and to wear a suit and tie a tie and all this bullshit. This is common Black liberal refrain.
And the indoctrination ain't working because most of the niggas I know can't change no tire.
Oh my God. We go on YouTube to change, like stop. Or you're talking to someone in your community how to do it. But my whole point is, even gendering that is pushing you toward a certain conclusion about, oh, our boys don't know how to do man things, right? When we talked about this last time, changing a tire, self-defense, cooking and cleaning, all of these are skills regardless of your gender identity. If you're a young African, you need to learn these things so you can take care of your community and take care of the house. Like, it's not hard. So every time they present this stuff that every youth should have access to as a skill, they're always gendering it, always. And so I just really want to point that out for people.
So the world is too small, and AI help it get smaller. Leah says, I think Black Liberation Media and all the ups and downs should pat yourselves on the collective back, because BLM content and hosts are on people's minds and influences many conversations. Somebody else called me when they watched that video, and they was like, "Oh, I think some of your conversation might, because sometimes he sound like this." But again, I just think the reality is the purpose of those folks are to maintain their own little thing they have, while again achieving a larger political objective. And yes, I do know them cats be watching these shows and having a conversation, but most of all, like, because we live in a small, and we're from a small place, other people watch it, and we all friends and family and cousins, and so yeah, the shit gonna get back to each other. And yeah, I just think, like, so one of the interesting things that they were saying, like at the end of the video, every time Mike closes, he said he thinks it's a principle to have people on that he disagree with to conversate. But again, I'm telling you, them two are not reading anything that is going to contradict what they already firmly believe. And even if they do, the niggas are so talented that they will be able to. Well, the rational kernel I took away from that is you got to work hard. Nigga, that's not. What are you talking about?
Yep, the spin doctor.
Well, I just want to say, if Charlemagne does watch this, I would like free tickets to the Decisions book tour any stop. Since you know,
definitely not giving it to you after this. You on the list, bro. You getting subliminals on Killer Mike's next album. He gonna shout you out in the next podcast. It's gonna be all.
Listen, like according to them, they said you can't criticize somebody you ain't doing better than. So,
which is insane.
Yeah, and again, what do they mean by better than? That's always the fun thing, right?
You ain't got enough money, because he said at the end,
he said if you ain't rich, you can't say shit to me.
But because he said, it's funny, all them communists at the end of every video, they asking you for your money.
Yeah, we get into that. We got BLM overtime. Are y'all cool going to 10:30 to close out?
That's cool. I also just want to say, Lion Times Baby said, I'm glad Amber's not with the CIA. I'm glad I'm not with the CIA either, because I'm not a sellout like Charlemagne. Okay.
Thanks. All right.
Now, but again, I do want us to, again, because I know this is, for me, it's bleeding off from the other conversation, Amber. This is kind of an exaggeration of what we're saying by you can be still used by corporate media. And even if they send you to a training, they're sending you to a training because they know your limitations and they will feel comfortable platforming you. So you only will be platformed or associated with them if they know your limitations. Now, if you do a switch on their ass, I mean, maybe so, but they're gonna pull you soon as you do the switch. So they're running in the lane and they're saying some wild things. We have a lot of critiques, but all I'm saying is a lot of their conclusions and conversations is very similar to people that we think are radical.
Yeah, it's true.
I still don't agree, but we can talk about it more later.
We'll build offline. We're gonna keep building. But next point, I think we were getting into the Black capitalism bootstrap shit.
Did you want me to play any more of this or move to the next point?
Did he get through talking about Umar? I mean, we talked about Umar's school. Shout out independent schools. Shout out Malcolm X Academy and Jordan. I know you've interviewed them, Geechee, and the comrades out there. I think even Jamie Swift's trying to start a Black feminist school in DC. There's some good work coming out of Black women radicals. There's schools out there, y'all, that are actually doing the work and aren't made of grifters who are not taken seriously within their field, but also just outside of their field as well. Because I want to point out, Dr. Umar is an educator. He can be challenged by educators within his field. And as an educator, I would just say he is a clown in terms of the field, in terms of treating children, building healthy minds, building confidence, and all of those things. I don't see any of that coming out of his pedagogy. So
what? Time out. What's happening here? Do you know Zenzi, Josh?
I do not. No.
Because I don't know.
But we're gonna stay focused on that. We got.
Yeah, I'm like, what? I don't understand what's going on. Okay, got it. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh. No, so we have been talking about something. Me, Geechee, and Lorik have been talking about something like an ongoing topic. And so Lorik has been pulling some like political education pieces to talk about it in more detail. But don't you worry, I'm still in control.
And I'm trying to start a fight while I'm really trying to figure out why.
We got 15 minutes left. All right.
All right, my bad. Go ahead. Let's go. I know. Distract.
Geechee want to argue so bad. It's okay. We can do it later.
The way they come at my good brother Killer Mike, Michael Render, the way they come at people like Jay-Z, the way they come at people like Tyler Perry, the way they come at people like Steve Harvey. And the reason I'm naming those individuals is because those are the people that I see actually pouring back into Black people, whether y'all see it or not, with the job opportunities, you know, with charity, like whatever it is, they're always y'all are always constantly pouring back into Black people. And y'all get the most shit from Black people.
Yeah. It's a nigga right now. The problem with Killer Mike, I was like, boy, it might be a problem, but it's not gonna be a problem.
That's so funny. I watched that video.
Street niggas.
I didn't watch the whole thing. I had to turn it off. I'm like, I don't see what the point he's trying to make.
And then at the end, you just at the end you highlight.
What were you saying?
I said like, oh no, I'm just saying. I think this Black capitalist revolutionary street nigga shit, it just be merging all over the place. Like everybody's everything now. Street nigga this time. Like, when I see you in the street, like what the?
He's mastered all the elements. He's a capitalist. He's a revolutionary. He's a community member. He's a street nigga. He's Malcolm 2.0. Nah, man, this is goofy as hell. If I see you, it's gonna be a problem. Pull up, nigga. But I'm not speaking for FD. I'm not speaking for FD. Let me not speak for FD and his family and Killer Mike and his family. You know, I don't say in Atlanta. Do you? But the threats on the podcast with Charlemagne is corny, bro. But yeah,
it's hella corny. Let me go back. All right.
You could have used 47 minutes to talk about the what you whatever you put in the last 3 minutes, but bigger than that, y'all always ask for money at the end.
After telling you that you ain't shit for being a Black capitalist.
Could I have $10 for my Patreon? I'm like, you piece of shit ass nigga.
You're right.
Hey, there's an online cannabis company coming.
And now he asking for money.
You know he's asking for money. He says it's not inconsistent. It's not inconsistent because he's a Black capitalist. It's only inconsistent.
Everything from just brightening up, having a euphoric day, sexually provocative, makes you in the mood, even helps with menopause and stuff like PMS that women and girls have been.
Hey, why are we playing this, bro? Why are you playing
those things? Because it's perfect.
But
it's so perfect.
I just want to say I didn't know that he was going to go into that, but I also just want to add, I think it's crazy that he was like, or the part you're talking about at the end, but he won't say what it was. He won't say that part. He's not going to say it was about the Land Liberation Project because he's not giving us no clout. But what he will say is he should have spent the whole video talking about that, but we don't even know what that is.
Won't reference it at all because it implicates him, just like Cop C implicates him. Let's talk about the ground, conditions on the ground, actual movement work. That's where, again, like you say, Amber, he's not going to bring that up because it makes him look goofy. That's why he's mad at FD, is because he's critiquing your movement, your actions, which on one hand, again, we started this off with you talking about all the Black leaders who you draw from. And then they do this fun thing where they'll say, oh, we're not like Malcolm. We're not saying we're him, but then we're saying we're him. Like they spent the whole thing talking about how they're similar and all that, but we're not them. We're not them. Don't worry. But then, so he's playing these games. It is hilarious. I do want us to do the walkthrough on the usual. Communists are asking for money. First off, I don't know if FD's ever identified as a communist, so that's already funny. So I guess it's a shot at Jared or whatever. But I did want to talk about that.
Jared ain't never asked for money either.
Yeah. No, we got to talk about that history. For those who remember BLM back when we were Black Power Media in 2020, Killer Mike donated a whopping $5 to either BAP or Community Movement Builders or something, begged Jared to be his mentor behind the scenes. Then Jared was like, no, backed out of that and didn't do shit. So this is Killer Mike.
And he came on the platform too.
Yeah, he's come on well, that was the whole thing. Yeah, Killer Mike's been on the platform when it was BPM. Time. Okay. Was there?
Now, why y'all in the chat saying he would call me the Afro commie lady? I don't
That's
even
what he
give
would.
communist.
He don't even,
I don't
he
even
wouldn't
give
say that.
communist.
He wouldn't even give you, because again, Amber, if he talks to actual organizers and organizations, if he shouts them out, that brings attention to, you know, organizations. And he's not trying to do that. He wants to stay on individuals and personalities so he can nitpick and attack and not organizations. To that point, whenever I hear him saying, communists ask for money, blah, 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 the entire time they have been talking about organizations. All of these people, all these figures that they're referencing were in organizations. What do organizations do? Whether they're communist, conservative, whatever, they ask for money. That is how that works. Like you're just describing what an
always
organization
ask for money.
So when communist organizations and structures start in places where they do have successful revolutions, they were also asking for money. And they had the power to take the money and to do all of those underground actions and guerrilla actions that we are trying to get our people to work, right? Allegedly. But that is not what he says here. He just says, if you're asking for money, you can't be a socialist or a communist. So that thing about organizations is true. I just think they're doing they know what they're doing here. I think these people have heard counter arguments to this many, many times, but this is why I'm saying it's psychological warfare. They know that line still hits, and that if 20 of our people who don't have any like kind of PE background watch this thing, it's going to work on a lot of them. And so our work, again, I'm not so focused on Killer Mike, is going into the community and talking to people who have heard this line of reasoning and are spitting it back out at you, even though it doesn't benefit them. It does benefit Killer Mike and whatever ad he was just pushing for. Black weed, black banks, black whatever.
Something called mood, but don't go there, y'all. Go to a real dispensary.
I don't trust whatever it is at this point.
Yeah, it's a fuck no for me. Any final words you have about this interview, Geechee?
Sure.
Since you know that man, since y'all friends.
I mean, you can joke. So I think if ever somebody is engaging with Killer Mike and they hear him bring about Malcolm X, I would always ask them, what do he think about when Malcolm X said things about Lena Horne and how the white capitalist or the state will bring out the celebrities and calm the people down, right? So Malcolm X prophesied about Killer Mike when Keisha Lance Bottoms brought him out there and he was crying in front of Atlanta saying, don't burn your houses down and all this other stuff. So Malcolm X literally said, a Killer Mike will come, and Killer Mike comes claiming to be Malcolm X. That shit is wild to me. On top of that, last couple things, Red McCombs, who's founder of iHeartMedia, co-founder, is connected to Blackwater, which is associated with the CIA. Right now on iHeartMedia, Langley Files and other platforms, other shows are literally ran by the CIA. So again, two people claiming to be revolutionary, bringing Malcolm X's name into a space and being associated in the way in which they're associated is the wildest thing ever. Are in by saying like, yes, NARD does turkey giveaways every year. Got that from Nino Brown, and does book bag giveaways, give kids a new book bag every year. And all that really says is cool. People get to see and smooch with celebrities, and they get to get free stuff.
But what are they doing to change the circumstances that
that's my point.
those book
okay, you can go. You want?
No,
but yeah, but that's actually what I was saying. So what they're essentially saying is better for to be exploited by, as we say, through them than to be directly engaging with the Buckers, right? And so yes, what he's doing is exploiting and poisoning his community, as Nino Brown did, and then giving them turkeys at the end of the day. Both of them is just very simplistic, obviously misinformed. They get the bragging about Crystals when Crystals actually was facing some bankrupt issues, and they had to do some maneuvering. And they not only use NARD, they use Invicta Cruz and Brittany Rayner and Ray J and all other celebrities. So every time they get into things, and I'm proud of him, I would say I'm proud of him for this one reason. When he started talking about how he owns some shit, and I kept telling him, bro, you got an imprint. You got an imprint deal. You got an imprint deal. He did say imprint on that show. So he don't own shit at iHeartMedia or none of that shit, Black Podcast Effect. He has an imprint deal.
What's an imprint deal?
Imprint deal is how white corporations use popular colored people to get their colored audience. So he got an imprint deal. There's a Latino with an imprint deal. There's a Chinese person with an imprint, and it still goes back to them. And he gets a percentage. And then he take his percentage and give his workers a little percentage of that. So he doesn't own shit. He doesn't own that. Crystals are franchisees. Doesn't own that. Lastly, they talking about franchises will or create jobs. Now, Crystals never was popped up in Moncks Corner. You can read and find out why that happened. It's in Orangeburg, and I think Walterboro, he said. It's not back in his hometown, so he isn't providing jobs for people in his hometown with that particular thing. I just think it's interesting how, again, they use this white capitalist talking points by saying, oh, open up a Crystals will stop violence or crimes, increase jobs. Well, actually, most studies, I don't know how accurate they are, show that actually is not true. Fast food restaurants actually doesn't solve crime, and it doesn't really provide jobs because most of the times you're giving people a couple, like, so the poverty rate is like at $7 an hour, and if you pay niggas $9 an hour, my nigga, you're not really helping people. So and on top of that, franchises are some of the most exploitive type of businesses because the corporation gonna get their money, and then the franchise owner gonna get their money, and the workers ain't getting no motherfucking money. So yeah, I'm done.
That part. I just want to say, Line Times, baby, I'm not a celebrity too because I don't have an imprint deal. I don't even have a Crystals franchise. I don't even have a book.
I was gonna say, once you start seeing ads in between BLM segments, that's when you know Amber's got a deal. When she starts promoting crystals and cannabis.
All the deals I get are just people sending me free shit. I never get I'm not the niggas who doing the ads and stuff like that. I really just be, people will send me free stuff, and I like it. I like free stuff, so that's about it. But it's always, I'm never getting like a Dove product or nothing. Like, I got some reproductive justice shirts somebody sent me last week, in a little water bottle and a fan. The fan's so cute. That's it. I'm not getting no, free deodorant supply or a Whole Foods gift card basket or something. I'm not getting nothing from like a big brand. It's always like a little cute group that sends me stuff, and I love like free shirts and stuff. So
same. To Geechee, to your last point, to close this. Well, first of all, just our summary, right? We talked about right-wing thought, right-wing ideologies like patriarchy and homophobia and capitalism. That's an economic system as well as an ideology. And these guys hit all of those markers, all of them. So this was a greatest hits. We'll put the video in the description for y'all. Highly recommend you check out the whole thing. It can be used as PE. There's the Black Capitalism segment. We only got into a piece of it. But if y'all are in local organizations, I highly recommend just clip the whole thing and just talk about it. Talk about this form of thinking with your people. Another bingo card. You can start a bingo, but John Hope Bryant comes up. Friend to the platform as well. And so I want to shout out Erica and Amber and Brokish. They covered Uncle Nearest, Fawn Weaver, and that whole thing, a saga in Black capitalism. They've interviewed John Hope Bryant. Jared has covered that work as well. So I just want to promote the platform, and that we have a lot of work that talks about what we should be doing, like Malcolm X Academy and independent schools, and also how to break down this Black capitalist mythology. They go into a piece at the end that I think is really interesting about how they believe Black capitalism is going to transform society. It's very trickle down. They very much talk about gentrification as a positive thing if you can get some community residents in control of it. And ultimately, I think that's really interesting with Killer Mike, where if you take his worldview to its conclusion, it is Black capitalism. It ends up having all of the class division that we see in Atlanta right now. So just tying people's ideology to the system they actually, operate in.
The class division in Atlanta, and I would say the South in general, is crazy, bro.
Yeah.
Bonus. So I stopped following him a long time ago. he was still following me. Now, it's impossible for me not to see him on my timeline, and it's impossible for me to be anywhere where I don't know somebody who know him. So when I was living in the UK, people know about Nod. So the time that broke the back is when he blocked me because of this post. Now, again, I do sometimes get frustrated when I see weird shit, but he has this picture.
Nah.
and obviously y'all know about this picture. So I made a kind of a post speaking about some conversations around what we had and how he would do and all this other stuff. And I think it made him extremely upset. And so he ended up blocking me on social media. We've talked a couple times since then, but
Geechee, please.
Hating on a black revolutionary like Charlemagne the God, sir.
I mean, at
my
some
favorite
point,
picture of my papa, my grand sitting in a chair like that. You know, it's popular as hell in the South to have a picture in that chair.
Yeah. You knew that too.
But that's, again, this is not popular to be on. If you look at the background, this is
the Black Panther shit. Yeah.
Well, not only that, but it's on the Comedy Central or whatever.
Like, does that say Black Panther or something else?
It looks like it's. Go ahead, Comedy Central.
So he had two shows. He had two shows on Comedy Central where he claims that he was trying to teach people about black whatever. But on the show multiple times, he called people like Asada and Marcus Garvey niggas. And then he also said Garvey was a businessman or whatever. So like, you don't need to go on a white comedy platform to teach them about African Black history, radical. Like, that's not even logical. And so he's intentionally sitting in the chair trying to just suppose that he's Huey P. Newton. And then he asked Andrew Schultz, his white boy, his friend, Andrew, what do we get paid to do for a living? He said, I really don't know the answer to that question. I just always remember my mama once told me, just be happy that you're making a living. I'm like, again, you might not act like you don't know, but you've had multiple conversations to tell you why and who the fuck and how you're being used. And you can avoid it all you want to avoid it. But the reality is, you know why you're getting paid. And you know why you keep doing a particular thing. And that picture to me is extremely disrespectful, just as well as some other things that they said in that chat.
But Amber, real quick, you saw the what I saw, which is the Wakanda lettering, and the Black Panther. So again, like, this is very intentional. I think that is a very intentional image. It's done for a certain reason. And I had this in our note. I'm glad you just brought it up, Geechee. But a perfect example of their vision in our fantasy world is Black Panther, is Wakanda. And I highly recommend people look at when Avengers happens and Okoye talks about Wakanda and all the people coming to the society. She says, oh, I thought we were going to get Starbucks or the Olympics, not this, blah, 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 blah. So just that is to me, a perfect example of Black capitalist ideology. Why the fuck would Wakanda want a Starbucks, right? This kind of thing. Why are we merging these two worlds that have nothing to do with each other? And so I think that was a perfect example there, Geechee.
For sure. Also, Yipper in the chat said no Louis Vuitton deals. Y'all are funny. No, I don't even like designer brands, but that's just a personal thing. I've never been into it.
We hit overtime, y'all. This was great. Truly.
We let Geechee talk so much today.
Oh my God. It's better than some EYL days. I know Geechee remembers those.
Let.
I'm just kidding. Geechee is always welcome to talk. He likes to save his moments and then like speak when it's really like needed.
Yeah.
He's gonna give you like the jewel thing, you know them 8 jewels that all men need to know.
That sounds like some Charlemagne and Killer Mike journalism right there.
Right there, yeah.
I know, that was good too.
Peace.
What are y'all doing this weekend?
Like, share, subscribe. We are almost at 50,000 subscribers, so thanks to y'all. Truly, we pat ourselves on the back, but we want to pat our audience, our folks, our community on the back as well. We're gonna have some celebration when we hit that 50K. So that's my sign off. Anything, Amber, Geechee, before we go?
Geechee, you got anything you're doing this weekend?
Oh yeah. That one meeting I'm telling you about, and then they have the big PMA event this week. in Atlanta. So if you are anywhere around
What does
Atlanta,
CMA mean?
make sure People's Movement Assembly. So make sure you pop out and come tap in with the people. That'll be this weekend. Not a couple, but a whole lot of orgs like us, Black Feminist Future, House of Justice League, many more. You could just read it all. Fire Ant at 12 to 5 West Side Motor Lounge this Saturday. So pop out.
I'm going to see Hamilton today, so I'm really excited. Along.
Amber, liberal. Remember the definition of liberal and watch that entire play. That's your PE homework. I'm glad you're going to do that.
I just want to say the reason why I like Hamilton is because the shit messy as fuck. And I also feel like they laid out the perfect argument for why they did not want all the things that Hamilton wanted. And nobody was catching on to it. Like they were literally saying, we don't want a nationalized government for these reasons. We just left this. And I feel like he laid it out perfectly, explaining that that's what Hamilton's whole deal was, trying to nationalize the government and being all this power. And I think that people don't understand it because they don't be reading the books. But when they watch the musical, they be like, oh shit. Also, it's just messy as hell. Hamilton was messy as fuck. And I love white people mess.
Struggle for a future time. Struggle session for a future time.
We don't have to struggle through that. I'm not changing my opinion. I love white people mess. I really enjoy it. And I will be watching him act a fool on the screen.
Word. Cool. All right, y'all.
But I will come back next week and let you know.
What do we got to say? Peace. We say peace to you if you're willing to fight for it. Shout out.
Peace. Bye, guys.
Bye, Hamilton.